All right, what is going on, everybody? I believe we are live. This is Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again on a Friday, yes, for another episode of the Xbox 2 podcast. And with me, as always, is Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, pal. Been a week and a half this week. A lot of news and a lot of Black Friday coverage, and it's that time of year again where I go into a store and I see Christmas decorations. And they're already selling Christmas food in all the shops. I think people really want a Christmas break this year, I think. It's 2021 for you, but yeah, man, it's been a good one. You been all right over in Rand land?
Yeah. I've been really good, actually. Really good. Actually made 2 videos this week, which is a lot more than I normally make, thanks to you, of course. You dropping the big info yesterday, which is we are definitely going to be talking about more at length. I've been playing Forza Horizon 5 a lot. Got Battlefield 2042 last night, although I haven't played it yet, so I'm looking forward to it. But it's just a great time. We got the 20th anniversary tomorrow, right? Or not tomorrow, the 20th anniversary on Monday, which is Monday. Might as well be tomorrow. You know how exciting it all is. There's big rumors about Halo Infinite multiplayer out there on the web. So it's exciting. It's how are you feeling though? I know you told me earlier you got a doctor's appointment next week on Friday, but how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm all right. I have good days and bad days. Luckily, today is a good day, mostly. So shouldn't affect the podcast at all. I always worry, man, when we start like getting ready to do the show, and I'm thinking, God, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be okay? And then so far, I haven't had a episode. It's like with gallstones, the pain just sometimes ramps up, and then sometimes it goes away. No idea why, but doing all right, man. Doing all right, and I'm ready to talk some Xbox news because we got quite a lot to get through, right? I think this week.
Yeah, there sure is, and it's funny because like I can hear you on the sticks right now. You're enjoying that Battlefield, aren't you?
Yeah, man. There's a lot of. It's hilarious because the game is broken. It is so damn broken. I'm telling you, man. If alpha was like pre-production and beta was alpha, it feels kind of like I'm playing the actual beta version right now. I'm shooting a guy who's literally just. All I can see is a floating gun right now. I'm trying to kill a floating gun. Just flying. Yeah. Killed me. I haven't been able to connect at all half the time, and the UI is broken. Sometimes you just can't tell who you've killed because there's no UI. It is a hot mess. But it's also Battlefield, so I am really enjoying it. But I do feel a bit like I'm acting as an unpaid tester for EA right now because, like I say, it is pretty mashed up. But yeah, that's
so
half of the course these days.
Before we get in deep on the podcast, talking about all these great topics we've got a bunch of, Jez. Once again, this podcast is sponsored by Manscaped. I said I would do the read today, but I'm going to do it next week. So
people are so eager to hear.
Yeah, because I gotta come up with a good one for next week. So why don't you tell all of our listeners about the great product they can get with the Manscaped with the code XB2 at checkout. I know you wrote something for this.
Yes, I did, and here it is. X2 podcast is sponsored by Manscaped. You guessed it. Manscaped gives you precision tools for your family jewels. This Black Friday season, you can grab discounts on a range of great products like the Epic Perfect Package 4.0, which includes a Lawnmower 4.0 ball trimmer Rand. It also includes a Weed Whacker nose trimmer, scented cologne, and all sorts of other great products. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code XB2 at manscaped.com. That's XB2. And you also get free shipping and, yeah, everything for your testicles. It's great. Buy it.
You're just you should do all these just moving forward. It's
oh my god,
I love it.
I should have been in marketing.
You should have been. You should have been.
Maybe I don't know. But thanks to everyone who's been supporting us with the Manscaped stuff. It's been really awesome for us, and it helps the show loads. And like me and Rand have been discussing like next year getting some proper lighting,
getting
camera.
cameras and being on the podcast with lighting and stuff. Yeah, that's what all this goes towards. So yeah. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you for being here on Friday. I love doing the show on Fridays. I don't know, it feels like home. Like I know we do it on Saturday sometimes because life, but I really like doing the show on Friday. We got a couple super chats already that I wanted to get to. The one and only Punkadish hits us up and says, Rand Jez, now this is how you get a weekend started. Much love. Thank you, buddy, for all your support. We got Aaron saying, love y'all. Well, we love you. Dieter Pinklich says, I don't really want to say that, but he loves mayo. JC says, feeling like mayonnaise and Arby's curly fries. What's the whole mayonnaise thing? Is this hilarious? Chaos Might has been a member for 9 months, which if you want, you can always hit the join button. He says, Jeff needs to get on the show so that Jez and Jeff can have a live leak competition. It would be crazy, and I would love to have Jeff on at some point, but I worry about how those worlds would collide. Would Jez be like, well, I got this, and then Jeff would be like, we would know like all 40 games or 60 games that Xbox is making by the time that podcast is over, I feel, right?
Okay. Yeah, Jeff's a cool dude. Like we always talk about having more guests on, and I suppose like Jeff would be a good third guest when we do a guest pod. But yeah, Jeff's an awesome guy.
The Dutch Rudder 81 says, love the show. As a Southerner, I'm glad Compulsion is doing American South respectfully and not treating us as the butt of the joke in media. Well, let's, we'll definitely be talking more about the Compulsion game. Igora says, you talked about GeForce Now being better than xCloud. Do you know of any games using the Orion tech? Also, can you shout out my sons, Malachi and Anthony? Thank you. Well, shout out to them. Did we talk about GeForce Now being better? I haven't really used, I've never used GeForce Now, so I can't make the comparison. So
I think I might have mentioned the fact that GeForce Now, like there are some YouTubers that benchmark the cloud products, and right now it does seem like GeForce is winning the whole argument there in terms of latency, with xCloud second in some cases, sort of Stadia and xCloud sort of fighting for the number 2 spot. But generally speaking, it's thought of that NVIDIA GeForce Now is the best one overall in terms of the tech, whereas xCloud has the best library, obviously. But I don't know if they're using the Orion tech yet, or if they're even going to use it. I don't know if it's like... Yeah, I just really don't know what the status is with Orion. Like, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Orion is... I think, when was it, Rand? Was it 2018? Or 20... It was a long time ago. 2018 or something like that. Bethesda debuted their own cloud streaming technology at their showcase at E3, and they showed Doom running at 4K 60 frames per second from a remote server, which was very impressive. And they were like, yeah, this is our patented cloud streaming tech. We're going to use this, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously they didn't use it because they got purchased out by Microsoft. So a lot of people have been wondering, are they going to use that Orion technology for xCloud? And right now there is no real information about what's going on there. But I suppose we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Truckle Chuckle says, that's an interesting name. Have a great show, guys. Going to catch up later. Loving Forza 5. Jez, your drive tar is smooth as a Manscaped plum.
Brilliant. A Manscaped plum.
It's interesting because a lot of people will send us their pictures of the cars they've been making in Forza with the custom paint jobs, and somebody did a custom paint job for the Xbox 2 on the hood of their car, sponsored by Manscaped. And I saw that. Shout out to whoever did that. I don't remember the name, but if you're listening, you like made my day when I saw that. Like, I was dying of laughter.
Dude, when you said and people keep sending us pictures of, I thought you were going to say people keep sending us pictures of their plums. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Yeah. Drunken Ninja says ooh and ooh. We got the whole ooh stuff still going on. And we got Silver saying Hellblade 2 TGAs. What do you guys think? By the way, big love. And Jez, do you know anything of Much Watched Show? I mean, we've talked about Hellblade 2. Both me and Jez feel pretty confident it's going to be there. I mean, you wrote it in your article. You said it. If you were a betting man, you'd bet on it showing up at the TGAs. So
yeah. I can't confirm that. That was not. That was not a leak. Definitely cannot confirm that it is going to be at the TGAs. But I just got a gut feeling. If I was going to show off the game this year, and I did hear that they were going to show it off, the TGAs would be the logical place. But plans might change and all that sort of stuff. So I do hope we see it though, because I am pretty hyped about that game.
Yeah. What else did he say? He wants to know if you know anything of the Much Watched Show. I mean, you did say last week that somebody told you that it's going to be a show you want to check out, right? Because I did see articles written. Articles get written about everything you say on this show. It could be the smallest thing, and there'll be an article written by a bunch of different websites. And it's always funny to me because I try to pick out the things you say that I would write if I was writing for a website that I wanted to report on Xbox things. But you saying that did make it onto Reddit, and I believe a couple websites did report that Jez Corden says, make sure you tune in because there's going to be things you want to see or whatever, right?
I've heard it's going to be a good show, and it's not going to be like one of those sort of, I don't know, like I don't know what to call them, a sort of like flat show that's kind of like basically a Game Pass ad. But there is going to be some cool stuff for Game Pass, I believe. You definitely want to watch this.
Did you
every Xbox fan will definitely want to watch this show. Definitely.
Did you see the some of these back compat games were suddenly added? Like Max Payne 3 suddenly got re-added to like the Xbox store in Saudi Arabia, I believe it was, and a couple other games like. Do you think is that something we could see? Like, I would figure if you're celebrating the legacy of Xbox, right? What better way to do it than like having actual back and pack games hitting the service for Xbox and the 360, right? I mean, that seems like a no-brainer. Cool. That would be pretty cool. Max Payne 3, if that legit hit, people would be really excited about that. I love Max Payne 3, and it saddens me that we're probably never going to see a sequel. And all we're going to get is this remaster. Have you seen some of these screenshots of the Grand Theft Auto remaster? Like the comparisons?
God. Yeah, dude. Oh my God. What a mess.
Like, you're Rockstar. You got all this money. And these are your legacy titles. And it's like they didn't even care.
It does. I can't remember his name. Dan Houser, is it?
Yes, Dan Houser. Yes.
After Dan Houser left, like GTA is like being his baby for like however many years, and now he's gone. I feel like Take-Two have just sort of gone into publisher mode, and they're just like, let's asset strip this and make as much money with as little effort as possible. Kind of like what Activision is doing to Call of Duty since Vince left and Infinity Ward sort of got hollowed out. I think like Dan Houser was probably a guy who was like, nah, I don't need to do this. It's going to be a mess. If we're going to remake them, let's actually remake them and not just crap them out like this. And then Take-Two is like, nah, man, got to make some of that cash, yo. And then they just drop them out half done. Fuck. That's kind of how I feel about that. But it does look a mess. Some of the screenshots are hilarious, though.
Yeah.
Like the textures, like weirdly stretched across the models, like incorrectly, and like the t-shirts like painted over, but you can still see the old t-shirt underneath. Apparently, it's like there's like assets for like several different engines inside one part of the game and stuff like it's, oh man, such a mess. We're actually writing a. Yeah.
What about the misspellings? Did you see the?
I haven't seen that,
oh, dude, have you not seen some of the storefronts that are misspelled because of the low quality of like whatever they were working with? They didn't see.
Oh shit.
Like all the words, so it was like one of them was like air mattress, but they called it AR mattress. They forgot the I. Like yeah, it's funny. It's really funny. Elliot says, had mayo with my steak fries today at lunch. Forza killing it. It really is. And we got to talk about that in a little bit. And can't wait to get my hands on Halo next month. Even took a few days of vacation to play. Have a great show, boys. Thank you for all the support. Funchado says, listen to you guys when driving in Mexico. Ooh. Juan says, what's the bigger game, Avowed or Fable in content? I would say Fable would be the bigger game.
I would. I'm gonna hazard a guess that Fable's got way more people working on it. I could be totally wrong about this. I have no information on this. This is not a leak. This is just my expectation. My expectation for Avowed is that it'll be similar kind of scale to the Outer Worlds, or maybe a little bit bigger, because it's like maybe they don't have to do as much new engine stuff. I don't know, but I'm expecting something similar in scale to Avowed. But like the Outer Worlds, but like more polished with more like stuff to do and that kind of thing, bigger budget. But there's not a huge amount of people working on it compared to Fable, which is like what 50 billion people.
I think Fable's going to be huge. It's going to be a massive game. I mean, they've been working on it for some time. They built a second studio to work on it. I'm not saying Avowed's going to be a small game by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Fable's going to be the bigger game for sure. Sin Vendetta, he's back. He goes, Rand and Jez, it's been a real minute since I've been able to catch the show live. Looking forward to it. Yeah, we haven't we missed you in chat, buddy. Hope you're doing good. The one and only Gaming Forte is here, and he says, one of my best experiences in 2021 was hanging out and doing a show with the Xbox 2 crew. Love y'all and keep bringing amazing content. Hashtag not me sucking up. Oh, this is definitely you sucking up.
Yo, dude. You know, like how we did a big show for E3 with like a bunch of different guests? Mm-hmm. Should we do that for like the end of year? Would you guys in chat like to see that?
You know,
like a big end of year show?
We could definitely do that. I would love to do that. I would love to have more people on the show.
Let's do it.
It's interesting because it's just been me and you for so long, and that was how we wanted to do the show, right? It was just me and you, right? But I have a lot of great friends in the community that I would love to bring on, and we were able to do that. We brought in Cold Eastwood, we had Lord Cognito join, we had Gaming Forte join, we had Tim Dog, even though he was like on a potato phone, right? Like we have a lot of great friends, and everybody out there supports us. So hell yeah, like if we should put a big end of the year show on, talk about what to look forward to in 2022, recap 2021. That'd be a good idea. But the thing is, it's like I did see some comments where like people don't like it when we have guests on. They just want the Rand and Jez experience,
Well, they get that all the time, right?
That is true. So yeah, let's do a big end of the year show and get like a bunch of people on. That'd be great. Funchito says every Xbox fan will want to watch the show. More specifically, every Halo fan. Wink, wink. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've been on Twitter recently and these rumors they're swirling. I saw a new article by Windows Central, not written by Jez, even though a lot of people think every time Windows Central writes an article, that means you write it, right?
No, we have a massive team. Brendan, Samuel, Zachary, Matt, they all do a really killer job.
Yeah.
Well, I say massive. It's pretty small compared to like, the
IGNs of the world, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what we do with such a small team is pretty cool, but yeah, it's definitely not just me. In fact, I'm probably a very small part of it these days.
Adam says, some of these GTA photos are bad. Hell, one of CJ's girlfriends from San Andreas looks like Lori Lightfoot.
Who's that?
I think I know the picture he's talking about, but I'm not sure who Lori Lightfoot is. There's definitely some weird pictures going on with GTA. Sin Vendetta back again. He says, also, did either of you get an invite code to the Elden Ring network test this weekend? I was unlucky and didn't get selected. I didn't actually apply for that, and I doubt Jez applied for that either. Maybe I should have.
I didn't even know you could apply. I didn't know you could apply for it. I thought it was like a press thing to begin with, but I didn't. I did get a code though. I got a code from press, but I didn't use it. I gave it to a friend who actually likes those kind of games. So, yeah.
Well, the thing was, it's like...
Yeah, you hyped Elden Ring, Rand? Is that your bag? Well, I know you completed Sekiro, right?
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I'm not the biggest fan of Dark Souls. This looks like open world Dark Souls, so I don't know.
Isn't it supposedly more accessible? Like that's what keep people say.
I haven't really watched any content about it, but I will say if I'd known that the Elden Ring network test codes were going on eBay for $300, I might have applied for one.
People put anything on eBay these days.
If I would have known those things were gonna go for that much money, I've been like, yeah, let me sign up for this, you know. But
sorry, I was gonna say this isn't gaming related, but people were selling like potato chips on eBay, like these like popular potato chips in the UK that are rare and out of stock because of the supply issues across the world. People were scalping those on eBay. Potato chips. That's how bad things are.
One Bad Mother, who I believe I'm finally going to be able to podcast with on Sunday on the Bitcast. I'm waking up super early on Sunday, Jez, like 10 a.m. my time, and I'm never really up at 10 a.m. to go on the Bitcast to talk about Xbox's 20th anniversary and our thoughts. And One Bad Mother from Xbox Era is going to be there, and he says Xbox 2, proving mayo and tomatoes are perfect complements to each other. I wonder if One Bad Mother is going to be busy on Monday. You know, he's a big Halo fan, loves the multiplayer, and hopefully you took off of work, OBM, because if you didn't, you might be missing out, apparently. Paul says, do you think that Microsoft could raise the price for Game Pass, or them offering early access for such amount of money could keep Game Pass from going up in price? I believe Game Pass will go up in price eventually. That's what, like, not right now, but I think it will go up in price at some point. I don't think it's going to remain at $10 forever.
Yeah, I mean, they raise things in line with inflation usually anyway, but like, yeah, it's going to go up in price at some point. These things often do. Like, how many price increases Netflix had over the years? Like 3 or 4, like significant ones. Yeah, I think it will go up in price, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. And so Space Dovakin, who's been a member for 9 months, says Xbox 2 best show ever. Love you guys. Keep up the great work, and happy 7 million Forza players. That's right. So Jez, this week, you know, I've been playing Forza Horizon. More Forza Horizon. I've actually been getting into the Eliminator a lot because there's more people playing it. So that's their Battle Royale mode in Forza. They debuted it like a year after the launch, or maybe a year and a half after launch of Forza Horizon 4. But it's in their day one. And when I was playing it for review, there wasn't a lot of people playing it, so it was kind of boring. Like, there wasn't many cars. But now that the game's fully populated, it's a lot more people there. So basically, it's a mode where everybody starts out in a Beetle, a really slow car, level 1 car, and there are car drops, just like there are, like, you know, airdrops and like battle royales for better weapons. You can find better cars, like level 2s, level 3s, level 4s that are better. And then how you challenge somebody. So when you see somebody driving on the map, if you honk at them, you challenge them to a race, and it'll put like a waypoint on your map. You get to the finish line, you get there first, you eliminate the other person, and then you can take his car, or you can get an upgrade for your car to go to the next level. And then when it gets down to like 10 racers left, the head-to-head is disabled, and they just give you a finish line that's 5 miles away, and everybody races there, and the first person there wins. So I've been enjoying that a lot more. Doing some of the other events that I've been missing in the game. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. We talked at length about Forza Horizon last week. It's still amazing. I'm still enjoying it. I know you aren't a racing fan, though. So, yeah, I think you've bounced off it already.
Yeah, I bounced off it a little bit. Like I say, or like you said, rather. I'm not a big racing guy. But the Eliminator sounds pretty fun. People on Twitter have told me to give it a bash before. I'm trying, Rand. I'm trying to get into Forza. You know the last racing game that I really enjoyed? The last one?
What?
I probably said it before on the show. Destruction Derby 2 on the PS1. Did you ever play that? Destruction Derby?
I have. I think I actually did play that. Yes.
It's kind of sad, but it just really bugs me that when you crash in Forza, the cars don't really take any serious damage. They get like little scratches and stuff. Maybe the windshield breaks, but there's no like. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know what it is with me, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna give it a try. Maybe you could play with me, Rand. We could play a game together.
Well, last time we played was Battlefield 5 because you normally, me and you talk all the time, every day, most of the time in the DMs, and then we talk in here. But me and you, like, you're never on when I get on because I tend to get on Xbox later in the day, and you're on obviously earlier. So we never really cross paths on Xbox, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's annoying. Like usually when you're awake, I'm at work, and then when I finish work, you're asleep or something. Like, I don't know. We'll have to try this weekend or something.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be easier if I had a messed up sleeping pattern, but my sleep cycle actually been pretty good lately, so that makes it even harder.
It does. C9 says, "Hey chaps, I've seen Monday's rehearsal. At the end, Phil shoots a grapple hook and returns a copy of Halo, announces it's released on Game Pass at midnight." That would be funny. Flame says, "Why did Forza Horizon 5 launch with co-op Forge and a battle royale, and Halo, a game with much more resources, isn't? Getting a little annoyed with Halo." Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of people that aren't happy about Halo not launching with co-op and Forge and a battle royale mode.
Yeah, I do. I get that. It sucks. It is what it is. But also, let's not forget the game got delayed a whole year, so presumably it was in quite a bit of a mess last year. And from little snippets of info we've had, I can't remember who said this. I can't actually. Was this reported or is this something I heard? I can't remember. I can't remember where this information came from, so take it with a pinch of salt. But I'd heard that Joseph Staten. I mean, Rand, you can tell me if you remember where this info came from.
Okay, if I remember it, I'll let you know.
Yeah, well, I'd heard that Joseph Staten did some pretty big changes to the game, like the game's direction, like to bring it more in line with what felt more like classic Halo, I think.
Right.
And and also like because I think they even said themselves in one of the blog posts, like how because it's like open world, they couldn't figure out a good way to make the respawn system make sense or something like that. Do you remember? I think they said that in a blog post, but like they were gonna have beacons or something, so like you respawn like near somewhere else, but then they were like if you respawn on your squad mate, then it created some engine problems or something like that. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'd rather they did it polished rather than rush out.
I think that was like a post from a supposed developer saying why the co-op wasn't going to be ready, and it was due to like the way spawning would work in co-op and how like Halo's always rehandled respawning and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we'll find out. Like, I don't know if you saw. Well, I know you saw because IGN had the exclusive reveal of the Halo Infinite campaign, right? And
yes,
Ryan McCaffrey and Miranda were quite excited about what they played, which is always a good sign, right?
Yeah. Is this all going to be our first topic now?
Well, I mean, do you want to talk about Battlefield? Or do you want to talk about Battlefield next week after you play it some more?
We can talk about Battlefield next week. I mean, I already basically summarized my thoughts on it right now. It's a buggy hot mess.
Well, I mean, I saw your tweet about this. I saw your tweet about this, and I want to ask you directly. You don't like crossplay anymore because you went on a rant about it.
I've never really liked crossplay. I've never really liked it. When have I ever liked crossplay?
Well, I know, but like you were really railing against it on Twitter today because
it's compoundedly annoying in Battlefield because like you can't turn off the chat log, and there's people saying all kinds of stuff like racist stuff, and it's not filtered. Can't even report anyone because they're on a different platform, and there's no control over it. And I was kind of mad, and I tweeted that stuff out, and I was like, fuck crossplay and all this. and I've just ruined your algorithm, Rand. We should get one of those things that just automatically beeps when I swear. You know, like maybe the Manscaped money can pay for that. But you can't filter it out, and people are like, "Oh, just turn off the chat," but you can't turn it off. And then people are like, "Oh, just turn off crossplay." Yeah, if you turn off crossplay, you can't get in the game because no one else turns off crossplay because no one else bothers because it's just there by default. So it's not crossplay itself I was mad at, I guess. It's more the implementation of it in Battlefield 2042. I don't think in Battlefield it's the balance is as big of an issue because Battlefield's so chaotic anyway. It's not like you're never gonna really lose a gunfight because someone's got a mouse because it's so chaotic and tactical and stuff like that. It's less twitchy than Call of Duty is, where like you can in Call of Duty it's really obvious when you've been killed by someone because they could turn faster than you. I mean, Battlefield not so much, especially if you play Rush because everyone's on one side and everyone else is on the other side. So it just comes down to like how well can you aim at things right in front of your face. So right. I don't think crossplay affects the balance so much, but it is sort of screwing up the experience in the terms of, yeah, you can't, everyone who's got a keyboard can say all this like racist stuff and it's not filtered and you can't report them. But also hackers, man. Hackers. Like someone sent me a clip on Xbox Live of a dude who's basically shooting through the floor and killing everyone. Maybe he was exploiting a bug because I do remember in Battlefield 3, I think, there was a bug where you could climb under the floor and then shoot people through the floor and they couldn't shoot you back. So maybe there's an exploit there and it's not necessarily a hacker, but it is a risk, right? There's been videos of Sea of Thieves hacks and stuff like that too. So I just feel like with regards to crossplay, there's a lot of like developers implementing crossplay without giving it much thought or not enough thought. And I think that kind of sucks for the console experience, but that's a whole nother discussion. Battlefield itself though, it's Battlefield, you know, I'm really enjoying the portal mode because you can go basically and play like Battlefield Bad Company maps. You can play Battlefield 1942 maps and with like upgrades and stuff. And right now I'm playing a Battlefield Bad Company 2 map and it's really, really fun. Like playing it with like modern graphics and stuff and that sort of classic experience. But Rand, the main reason I'm playing the Battlefield Bad Company 2 maps right now is because I can't connect to the other modes because the servers are messed up. So I can connect to the Battlefield Bad Company 2 maps, but I can't connect to any of the other maps. So that's the only reason I'm playing this version right now. I could do that before with backwards compatibility if I really wanted. But it's a hot mess. You know, it's like this is a free trial period, early access with the EA Play and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate or whatever. And so, you know, maybe there'll be a patch next week that solves some of this stuff. But if this is early access and the servers are already getting overloaded, man, the actual launch day is going to be a mess. So, yeah, I think, like, what I would say to people is if you've got Game Pass Ultimate or EA Play, just, you know, try the free trial, see if you like it. Definitely, like, you know, look at the customizing your stuff and stuff like that to choose, like, a proper loadout and stuff. Sorry, someone's talking to me. So like, I can't.
Don't you hate it when that happens? When somebody,
I do.
You're doing a live show and somebody busts in and someone's trying to talk to you, and you're like, you don't understand this is live. You know, like this is tough to do live, and you're trying to talk to me. Like, go away.
But yeah, I just like it. I've seen a lot of complaints in the Battlefield community. They don't like the operators. They say like there's kind of hero classes, like operators that all have a unique ability, and like I don't really mind that. I don't see why it's such a big deal. You know, I feel like it does give you more control. Like you could play as a medic sniper if you wanted to. It wouldn't be very useful, but you can do it now. You could play as like an engineer who also has like some healing abilities, maybe if you wanted. Like I feel like it does give you more control over your playstyle, and I kind of like that. So I've got a dude like who's got a sentry turret that automatically locks on and shoots people. Feels kind of overpowered, frankly, and probably will get nerfed. especially when you pair it with a medikit, because then I'm shooting people automatically with a sentry turret, which doesn't do it does pretty decent damage, and also I'm automatically healing myself with the medkit aura. So, you know, maybe that's why people are mad. Like, it's thrown balance off a little bit, but man, I don't know. I just really enjoy it. I'm just really having a blast with it. So, but then again, free trial, 10 hours. Go and try it. If you like it, great. If you don't, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it at the moment. I'm enjoying it way more than Call of Duty anyway. I've only installed that now. I just can't stand.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get into it because I do love me some Battlefield. But moving on, we got a lot of topics here to talk about. So if you guys are enjoying the podcast, make sure you do us a big favor. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and share this out because YouTube does a horrible job of it. Alvin says, thanks for mentioning the 48-inch C1 on sale last podcast. I jumped on it, and it's glorious. Series S looking amazing, but might try for an X now. Yeah, if you got one of those OLEDs, and you definitely should be aiming for an X, because that will definitely, you'll get the most use out of it then. But I'm glad you enjoy. I mean, because it was like $1,000, and it was like a no-brainer. I even was looking at it, but I was just like, I don't really need a 48-inch one for a monitor. But yeah, I wonder how many people, since we started. LG should sponsor the podcast for how many times we talk about OLEDs and LGs and how many we've probably sold to people over the course of time, right?
Yeah, man. I don't even have one. LG, send me a TV. Hook me up.
Yeah.
But I like my QLED, man. I'm going to stand for QLED. QLED's better than OLED. OLED's for noobs, man. It's all about that QLED Samsung awesomeness. I don't have a clue if it's better or not. Do you know the technical differences between QLED and OLED? Because I sure as hell don't.
I absolutely do not. You'd have to ask like Dealer about that. He knows all about the those differences. Shout out to the Best Bot Kid Smooth. He says, is it fair and possible that Forza Horizon 5 gets nominated and wins Game of the Year despite the genre? So I guess we could kind of shift into the talk about Forza Horizon breaking records, right? Like, I know that's kind of been a big talking point. It's the highest rated game of the year, right? 92 on Metacritic. But there's the undercurrent that it can't be nominated for Game of the Year because it's just a racing game, quote unquote, right? And racing games and sports games don't win Game of the Year. And is that really fair? So, I mean, I don't know. Like, we talked about it last week on the podcast. Knowing how judges or how these outlets vote on these titles for Game of the Year and seeing past history, I would love to tell you that I think Forza Horizon 5 will get nominated at the Keeleys, but I just have a feeling that when these people fill out their ballots, they're just going to completely overlook Forza Horizon 5, and they're going to say to themselves, it's just a racing game. And they'll vote for something else. Now, is that fair? No, I don't think it's fair. Especially when you look at like player counts. Like the knock against Forza is that racing is a niche genre, right? But as we know, it basically broke all of Xbox Game Studios' records for day one. As Phil Spencer said, it had 4.5 million players on day one. And close to almost 2 million people who paid for it, whether or not there was some piracy going on there, and early access. But right now, it's like, if you go look at the leaderboards right now, it's close to 7 million. So it's probably going to have close to 8 million a week after it officially launched, which would be absolutely ridiculous. And if you take a look at all the games that have come out this year and games that will be nominated for Game of the Year, like, Psychonauts 2, Deathloop, maybe Returnal, Ratchet, possibly Metroid Dread. None of those games are going to be played by as many people as Forza Horizon will be. Probably even combined. Like, Ratchet sold something like 1 million copies, maybe 2 million by now. Returnal, 500,000. I can't imagine Psychonauts 2 was played by that many people, even though it was on Game Pass. Same thing for Deathloop. Like, I think there's a possibility that if you add up all the people who played those 5 Game of the Year contenders, it won't even reach the number of players that played Forza Horizon in its first week. So if Forza Horizon 5 is a niche title, I don't know what you say about those other games. So
It's looking at the player counts is just crazy. Like, you can't really call it niche anymore, man. That's pretty mainstream numbers. I would have thought, and it basically it boils down to the emotional response. Like, how emotional can a racing game make you feel? And I suppose, like, for some people, not very much because it has no real characters. But this one kind of has characters. I was like playing through it, and like, you know, there's those dudes who, you know, talk about, you know, opening new festival areas and all that stuff. I know it's like that in the other games as well, but I do feel there's more they could do there, you know, to make it more like, give the characters a bit more life. I definitely do think there's an opportunity there that they're not perhaps exploring as far as they could. But at the same time, this is a video game. I don't think it's fair to punish Forza because it doesn't have, I don't know, you know, plot twists and scary moments or horror sections, or you know what I mean? It's a different kind of game, and I don't think it should be punished. And, you know, like I said last week, if it's not at least nominated for Game of the Year, I'm going to be calling them out. I'm going to be calling them out publicly.
Are you going to be calling out Jeffrey Grub? He's in chat. I think he votes on the Keeleys.
Oh, does he really?
I'm pretty sure. I think GamesBeat has a vote. I wouldn't be surprised if the Grub is voting on it. Although I don't think Grub would include it in his list. I think Grub's Game of the Year is Metroid Dread, from judging from his tweets I see. If I had to pick what I think Grub's Game of the Year is definitely Metroid Dread. So
is that your Game of the Year too?
I don't know what my Game of the Year is. Like, we still have Halo to go through. See, that's the thing. It's like,
does Halo get
Halo doesn't. No, because Halo falls outside the cutoff point. That's the thing about this. It's like, it really should be the games released from January to obviously the full year, but because the show's in December for the primetime advertising slot, they have to cut off in mid-November. You would think to do an award show for the game, it should be like in February or March, so include all the games, but, you know, that's not primetime ad slots. So you lose, because remember the controversy last year with Star Wars, the Jedi Fallen Order. It didn't make it, right? It was, and there are some people that thought it should be nominated. So
that should have been. Given that thought, maybe Cyberpunk will win.
Yeah, I doubt it. So yeah, I think it should be nominated. I think it's an amazing. If I was filling out a ballot if I was filling out my top 5 games of the year for the Keeleys, it would be in my top 5 for sure. But I just kind of feel that a lot of people are going to overlook it. And you're going to see podcasts whenever these nominations do drop, which I don't know when, that are saying like the Keeleys are losing credibility, because how can you overlook a game that is the highest rated game of the year when everybody talks about Metacritic and they put up these games versus one other, like this game's an 88 and this game's an 85 and this game's an 87. How do you leave off the list a game that is the highest rated of the year, that is played by as many people as it is? Virtually loved by all. Well, not by, I mean, obviously that's an exaggeration. I'm sure there are some people that don't like it. How could you leave that game off the list? So there would be definitely people out there saying like, well, the Keeleys screwed themselves, because how can you take it seriously when the highest rated game of the year isn't nominated for Game of the Year, right?
Yeah.
So
they really, like, I mean, I just want to say, by the way, I think they do a great job. It's like a good 95% of video game, TV shows, and movies, frankly, are pure cringe. So, and I do think that Jeff puts on a pretty good show, considering the legacy of cringe that, you know, that really does sort of exist within video game media. I think Jeff really does a good job. But that said, he needs to keep he needs to be transparent with the way the awards are tallied up. I don't think there's enough of that explanation in the show. I think you could do a better job there, not just like buried on the website. I think gamers are very angry people a lot of the time.
They can.
And I do think
they can be very angry.
Yeah, they can be very, very angry indeed. Especially me. And I do think the fact that they're discerning, it would be a good thing to sort of very clearly state when a game is eligible from and between, and sort of talk about which games are sort of in the running to be nominated and stuff like that. Just to remind people that this game launched last December and it's it wasn't in the running last year because it was in December or whatever. And because there is that question, especially after Jedi Fallen Order, which I'd completely forgotten about, to be honest, about, making sure that it is a credible award show. And it will come up. I will call them out if Forza's not nominated, because it should at least be nominated. And I think it will be. I think it will be nominated.
It will get the token nomination in the sports/racing category, and it'll win that like it always does.
I'm talking about.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I guess it's possible. If this was a year that Forza could sneak in, it's definitely this year, because I don't really think there's that one game that is the overwhelming odds-on favorite. Like last year, everybody knew Last of Us was going to win, right? The year before, I think everybody was like Death Stranding or Sekiro. There always seemed to be like 2018, it was like, well, God of War and Red Dead, right? Where it was like such a clear favorite, where it was like, it's this game or it's that game. This year, there really isn't. So maybe it can sneak in. Maybe this is the first year it does. So
yeah,
I would love it. I think they deserve to be recognized for what they did with this title. And as people are saying in chat, like Forza Horizon 5, Jez, like almost at 7 million players. Like, is that what you expected?
Wow.
7 million players in basically less than a week?
I did not. I really definitely did not expect that much traction. I didn't. I thought maybe 7 million after a month or two. But a week? Nah.
So Forza Horizon 4 did 2 million in a week. Now, of course, that was in 2018. Game Pass was nowhere near as big as it is now, right? 3 years later, Game Pass is much bigger. It also makes me wonder, like, some of the games that Microsoft launched before Game Pass got big, something like Bleeding Edge. Like, what would it be like if Bleeding Edge launched into Game Pass now, where there's anywhere between 20 to 30 million subscribers? When Bleeding Edge launched, there was maybe 8, right? Yeah. Would that have helped the game out more? But now, it's like, I look at Forza and Horizon, I just kind of think back of when it was first announced. Like, nobody expected anything from it, because at the time, Motorsport was Microsoft's premier racing franchise. And everyone's like, does anybody really want an arcadey Forza game? And then steadily, every other year, it would release, and people started to notice it more, and we'd start getting reviews. And then with 3, it kind of hit the big time. I even heard Forza Horizon 3 took Xbox by surprise. They thought Gears 4 was going to be the big game, but it ended up being Forza Horizon 3.
Yeah.
And 4 came out, was one of the first big games to launch on Game Pass day one. I believe they recently announced that at 25 million players, which is astronomical for a racing game. Yeah. And here comes 5. And as we talked about, the way to grow Xbox Game Pass is you need these type of games. Amazing games that have the wide appeal, and Forza has that. And it's like, dude, before the game even launched, on day one, it had close to 2 million people in early access, either paying $100 for the Ultimate Edition, or subscribe to Game Pass paying $45 for the premium add-ons, which is genius when you think about it, because they don't own the... Like, think about it like this, Jez. Think how genius this is, like, from a business perspective. You let people buy a premium add-on bundle where they get the 2 expansions and they get the car pass, they get the early access, but they don't own the game. And you need to own the game to play the expansions that you bought. So, like, it basically means that they have to keep on subscribing to Game Pass forever to play the content that they purchased that's going to be released in the future. And they did. So many people bought it. So it basically had 2 million pre-sales before it even hit Game Pass. And, right now, it's almost at 7 million. Like, that's a ridiculous number. And it's only going to get bigger,
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, how many subscribers did it add to the service? Because you got to presume there's a lot of people on PC, for example, who probably have joined the ecosystem specifically to play this game, And, unless you're pirating the game, which some people were stupidly bragging about doing on Twitter, fanboys and the like. Man, that's such an L, man. To, like, brag that you're pirating a game while also claiming you hate the dev. Like, what the hell? That's so sad. So sad.
Claiming to support the dev, but then only PlayStation devs and devs that have games in Game Pass. Because when it comes to Xbox dev, nope, we're gonna pirate the shit out of it, right?
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know. It's pretty awful. But we got some super chats here I need to get to. Thank you guys for supporting the show. We really appreciate it. If you're enjoying the show, hit the like button. Zabit, who I see all the time in the Xbox Era Discord, says, Jez, don't mention QLED unless Samsung cut you a check. Rand, keep 100% of the super chat since you never abandoned the Xbox Era Discord. That's right. I know Jez always leaves and stuff. So Space Dovakin says, Forza Horizon 5 went beyond a simple casual arcade game. The game is so much more, and it's attracting so many people, even non-racing fans, even non-video gamers. Well, I mean, to reach those many people in that short amount of time, like, it definitely has a wide appeal. I wonder how that would compare to something like the new Call of Duty or the new Battlefield. Like, is it more? Like, is Forza Horizon 5 going to have more players than Battlefield? Or is it going to be up there with Call of Duty? That's, would be nuts. And Space says that it's officially past 7 million according to the leaderboards. Maybe it hits 8 million by the time Tuesday rolls around next week. I wonder if they'll have a press release about that. I would imagine Xbox would want to share those numbers, right? Because those are absolutely huge numbers. Supernova says, was Fable designed as a single or co-op game? Is the element of cooperation close to Dark Souls? I hope they focus on playing solo. No more Destiny. What do you think, Jez? Because I know there was that rumor back when it was revealed that Fable was going to be an MMO, which we talked to people at Xbox and that wasn't true, but I believe it does have some online elements. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a co-op element to the game, although I don't know for sure.
Well, the thing is, more Fable games have had co-op than haven't at this point. So, like, I don't get that sort of mentality like, oh, man, it needs to be single player because Fable's a single player game. It isn't. It's always been a co-op game, really, except for Fable 1. So, I think as long as it's implemented well and it doesn't detract from the single player experience, I think it's fine. But I haven't heard anything either way. I do expect it to have some form of co-op. I wouldn't be surprised if it's basically just similar to... Fable 2 or whatever, or maybe like a bit deeper than Fable 2. Because I think in Fable 2, you basically spawn in as a minion of the person who owns the game, right? If I remember right, like you couldn't like. Yes, I don't think you could get loot or anything, or maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
You were also tethered. You couldn't really move that far away from them. So
yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what Fable looks like, plays like, and their ambitions for the title. Maybe we hear about it next year.
Yeah, I don't think.
But I don't know. Like, who knows when that game launches? Like, could be a 2024 title. Xbox got a lot of titles coming out in 2023. Some of those titles ain't going to come out. Some of them they got to save for later, but we'll see. Sin Vendetta says, no game should be overlooked for Game of the Year just because it's a racing game. There's a bias there that shouldn't be there in the gaming industry. Well, when you inherently have lists written by actual human beings, there's, of course, going to be biases because human beings themselves have biases, right? So it is what it is, man. I'm definitely interested in seeing what the lists are going to be, what the nominations are. James says, can we talk tattoos for a moment, lads? We calling Jez Netflix because the Squid Game is so strong. Where's your ink at? That's right, Jez. I totally forgot to mention this, but you actually went out and got a tattoo, right?
I did. I've wanted one since I was
couldn't
16.
believe it. And it was a big tattoo. It was like your whole arm. What were you thinking?
Yeah, man. Nah, I've wanted this tattoo. I've wanted this tattoo since I was about 16, but I just never had the spare cash. But now, thanks to Manscaped, So this tattoo is sponsored by Manscaped, frankly, and the other bit of it went on a Razer webcam. So but yeah, I'll post a picture of it on Twitter because I had to keep it covered up while it healed and stuff. But it's healed really nicely and not finished yet. I've only got like a third of it done. I'm having it go all the way around the back. It's only sort of on the top of the arm at the minute, but it's going to go underneath. It's going to be a big kraken because I don't know if you know this, Rand, but I quite like cephalopods.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of squids and mollusks.
So
mollusks in general.
Is it modeled after the Kraken in Sea of Thieves, or is it Cthulhu, the dark god?
It's sort of like a mixture between, your classic sort of Kraken, and I guess there's a bit of Cthulhu in there as well, I guess. Do like me some H.P. Lovecraft. It's also one of the only books I've read, H.P. Lovecraft complete work. But yeah, man, I love it. Like I'm probably gonna end up with loads of tattoos, man. I've been looking at like what can I get on my calves, what can I get on my other arm. I'm gonna get loads of tattoos probably.
Jeez, I don't know.
I
have a face tattoo. You really gonna go there? Get Xbox 2 tattooed on your cheek.
Yeah, maybe. But,
yeah, I'm probably never getting a tattoo. Like I can appreciate the art on other people, but it's not something that I would want to do. I don't know. There's not something it's not something I feel that strongly about that I won't want it tattooed on my body for the rest of time.
No, I get that. I've been obsessed with squids.
Maybe like the Wheel Time logo with the serpents wrapped around the wheel eating its own tail is maybe something I would consider putting somewhere. For those of you that know what the logo looks like, I could consider that's like the one thing I would consider putting on my body. But I just, other than that, no. But that's yeah, fun. I'm glad you were able to get your tattoo that you wanted for a while. It does look really cool. So
thank you very much.
Make sure you retweet that so people know what we're talking about on Twitter on tweets. Gunstar, big supporter of the channel. Thank you for always being here, buddy. He says, it would win if Kojima made it and you stopped every 1 mile to pick up a parcel. Well, I mean... yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, guys, I just want to throw this out there. If you follow me on Twitter, send me a picture of your tattoos if you've got one. If you're inked, drop us your tattoos.
You should make a tweet, including your picture, and then say, show me your tattoos as well, right?
Yeah, I should.
There you go. Yeah. Chris says, rumor of Halo multiplayer dropping early is spreading. Any thoughts? I'm concerned campaign spoilers will get data mined before it launches. We will be talking about that.
That's a good point. I didn't.
That is a good point that it could be data mined, unless of course like it's a separate thing. Which we're going to be talking about that in a minute. So we definitely will be answering your super chat. Artemis says, does Demon's Souls make it Game of the Year talk since it missed last year cutoff? I doubt it. I think people have short memories. Something like Hitman 3, which I consider one of the best games of the year that launched in January, I don't think is going to get nominated because it came out in January and people don't remember it. So no, I wouldn't that be funny if Demon's Souls did get in though? I just don't see it. I don't even know if it can. Can a remake get nominated? I'm not even sure. I don't know what the rules are.
I think that might be against the rules, But maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe Jeff Grubb can tell us in chat. He knows the rules. Can a remake get in? Can a remake be nominated, Jeff? Let us know. RDX Son of Fett says, will there be early access for Infinite? We'll talk about that. Dub became the newest member of the channel. Thank you. Enjoy all the emotes that we do have. Edward King says, Infinite multiplayer launching on the 15th, but I'm confused. Didn't Joe Satan say multiplayer and campaign launched together on the 8th originally? We got a lot of super chats about the Halo stuff, so let's see what else we got here. Spike says Forza Horizon 5 proves that Playground is Xbox's Insomniac. Well, they definitely are very consistent. Maybe one of the most consistent studios out there with the high quality of... That's the other thing about Forza is like everybody says like, oh, it's so easy to make a racing game, and it's like, show me the other racing games that are as highly rated and played by as many people. Show me the last Gran Turismo that was rated in the 90s. Show me the last Dirt that was in the 90s. If it was so easy, everybody would make these games and they would be highly rated and played by millions. Oh, but they aren't, are they? They aren't played by millions, and they aren't highly rated. So it must be pretty tough to make a racing game. You know, I don't know. People just like speak without really thinking because they make racing games are easy to make. Is that so? Is that so? Is that why Gran Turismo Sport is like a 74 on Metacritic right now? If it was so easy, right?
Yeah.
Jacqueline says, Rand, let's get those weekly read summary, and also where would you guess Guardians places in this month's charts? I honestly don't think it's sold well. I believe MPD came out, and I think Guardians was number 7 for the month. So
Guardians
Halo. Of the Galaxy.
Oh,
and that's what I mean. I think
they meant Halo 5 Guardians.
No, it was number 7, which I think. I don't know how that is. I think word of mouth is going to have to carry that game to good sales because I think most people didn't really like the trailers leading up to it. So who knows how that... I mean, who knows, honestly, but I don't know if number 7 in the MPD is a great starting point. Shout out to Rodale5 becoming the newest member. Appreciate it. Let's see what else we got here. Bright Tundra, who's been a member for 9 months, says, morning from Australia, gents. Gotta thank you for the Manscaped boxers. My partner bought me a few pairs after she heard Jez's plug. They are great. See?
Oh, man, that's awesome.
That's pretty cool. Hopefully you use the promo code XB2 when you check out because you get 20% off.
Hell yeah.
Sin says, Jez, once you get your neck tattooed, can you officially become a lead singer of your own deathcore band? Just work on your gutturals and pig squeals. Yeah, and you can get Miles to play guitar because we know that's what he loves to do, right?
Yeah, man. Cole Eastwood plays guitar as well. Maybe we just like make an X band.
Make an X band. Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
X band. Make songs about Xbox.
John B says, do you think Amazon is going to do a good job on wheel time? I'll let you know after Friday. So Wheel of Time launches next week. I'm so excited, but I'm also very nervous because hopefully it's good.
I saw an interesting article about that it contains a lot of male nudity.
Yeah, you sent that to me. And I was just like, oh, geez. They called it a feminist fantasy, and I'm like, it's not a feminist fantasy. But, we'll have to wait and see. As for the books I'm reading, I just finished Robin Hobb's Ship of Destiny, and I'm reading Mad Ship. So I got a whole bunch of books I bought recently, and I'm going to make my way through them all. So, yeah. So, you know what? Let's since we talked about Forza, let's talk about this Halo thing, since everybody's bringing it up. Might as well, right? Talk about Halo. Campaign previews from both IGN and Game Informer seem really positive. I didn't really read that much into it because I want to play it for myself, honestly. I just know that people on Twitter were excited that they were excited, which is great because I would hate for like them to like Ryan McCaffrey and Miranda being like, you know what? Yeah, it wasn't very good, right? But the big news, or the big rumor floating around right now, is that, and this comes from Nate the Hate, who I've done podcasts with on Spawncast. He's a really good dude, knows what he's talking about. He is saying that, let me get his tweet out. It's just so I can quote him properly. Nate the Hate. Where is Nate the Hate? There is Nate the Hate. He says, what a better way to celebrate the anniversary of the Xbox than with a birthday surprise. I can independently confirm and share with you today that Halo Infinite multiplayer will be made available on Monday, November 15th. Suit up, Spartans. So, There you go, right? Now, we sort of talked about this last week. We talked about the early access bundle that was SAW. And we kind of went through the different scenarios that, if it was true, right? Maybe it's another flight that is launching on the 15th. Maybe it's the full multiplayer, blah 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 blah. And look, I'll just be straight up. I've been hearing for over a month now that this was a possibility. Right, Jez? I think I told you about it. I said I was hearing rumors and whispers that it was a possibility. So we kind of started teasing it. And then last week we teased it some more, and Jez was like, wouldn't that be cool? Now, I don't know for sure because I don't really know anything for sure. But there's definitely a strong undercurrent of people telling each other that this is happening. And I don't think Nate would exactly put this out there if he was wrong about it. Nate knows people, but I've also heard from other people as well that this is happening. So I guess it's a possibility. And the only thing I'll say is tune in on Monday, I guess. So, yeah. I know Windows Central wrote an article, but it wasn't written by you.
The Windows Central article was just reporting what Nate said. Like I have no information. I only know what people have said and the rumors and stuff. I cannot confirm that that's happening, so I'm not putting my name on that. That's all Nate. So if it's wrong, it's Nate's fault. But Nate is not someone I would expect to get something wrong like that. We can discuss. What does this mean? Let's assume it's true. Let's assume
it's
Nate
true.
is correct.
Okay. Assume that Nate's
correct.
correct.
How is this implemented?
It's interesting because, they said that they were, Phil said they wanted to launch the multiplayer and the single player at the same time. November 15th is almost a month before the launch of the game, and it's just going to be the single player, or it's just going to be the multiplayer supposedly, and it would be a big moment. Like, let's just get that out of the thing. If you're watching the Xbox 20th anniversary and you're seeing what's going on, and then they end the show and they're like, as a big surprise to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Halo, we know everybody's waiting to play Halo Infinite on December 8th, but what if you didn't have to wait? That's right. Starting today, you can play the full Halo Infinite multiplayer right now. And it would be a big moment. The internet would be abuzz. People would be going crazy, logging into the servers to be able to play Halo Infinite multiplayer. It would be pandemonium. But then it's just I get it. That would be a big surprise, and it would make people extremely happy. They could play the multiplayer for 3 weeks. But then I wonder, okay, is this going to be free? Is this going to be hey, anybody can play it right now? Or is it be hey, if you're a Game Pass member, you can play it now? Because I look at Forza Horizon with what they did. I mean, they got 2 million people essentially to pay for the game, even though it was going to be free on Game Pass, either through a $100 Ultimate Edition or a $50 premium add-on. And I'm thinking to myself, it's Halo Infinite's going to have a lot of people playing it because it's free to play. But what if Microsoft could convince some of those people to actually pay for early access for Halo's multiplayer? They make so much money. But, there isn't a premium DLC that they could sell. So it's maybe they not. But it's what if they just said, hey, if you're a Game Pass member, you can just play it right now. So for those 3 weeks before it becomes free to play, you get people to subscribe to Game Pass. I don't know how it's going to work. I mean, I don't know. So like I said, we're just assuming, they could call it a beta. Fortnite Battle Royale was called a beta for years.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even though I was hearing rumors about this last month, it's hard to really believe. I was always thinking to myself, does this make sense? Forza Horizon just came out. It's killing it. Battlefield 2042 is launching this week. I mean, it's out in early access, but it's launching this week, and you're a marketing partner of EA. Do you really want to launch the same week? Would EA really appreciate that? I know there's the business reasons, you want to keep your business partners happy, but I don't really think EA would appreciate Halo launching the same week as Battlefield, right? So, and I really don't think Activision would appreciate Halo launching this early, to be honest with you, especially with the state Call of Duty's in.
Who cares what Activision
I guess if this is the year to do it, is do it. Like Jez said, Battlefield's got its issues, even though it's good. Call of Duty seems to be, this is the one that nobody talks about, but I don't know. I honestly don't know how I would feel if this actually ends up being true. Because I've debated about this. Me and you have talked about this at length before. I've talked to somebody else I know who is pretty sure it's happening on Monday, but I was just I don't know. I mean, I saw Benji Sales talking about it. He's like, oh, maybe this means that they could get more revenue for the quarter if you extend it out 3 weeks early or whatever. I don't know. Like, what do you think, Jez? You're not the biggest Halo fan, although you were loving the multiplayer.
Yeah, I'm a convert now, man. I actually downloaded the Master Chief Collection. Me and my brother are gonna go and play through the old games. So I need to learn what the story's doing because like I say, I'm not really familiar with those Promethean dudes at all. So I'm gonna go through and learn at least the basics because I know there's a lot in the books and there's a lot of comics and there's a lot of external lore and stuff. I'm not going to go that deep, but I'm going to learn at least the basic elements of the story, at least, or whatever. So, with that in mind, you've got to think, Rand, if this wasn't a rumor, and, and people were thinking it was going to happen, if Nate hadn't claimed it was going to happen and people weren't talking about it, if it was just completely out of the blue and it hadn't leaked, and I seen there's like, we had that bundle thing that appeared on the store. We also, Rand, there's also a Google timer for it, man.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
So like Google literally, now I have no idea how Google would know this, but Google has a timer up on their website for Halo's multiplayer that counts down to Monday. Like, how do they know that? Did someone just add that? I don't know. How does that work? But whatever. Maybe that's maybe someone just added that or whatever. I don't know how that works. But if this wasn't a rumor and it just dropped out of nowhere, you wouldn't even have time to think about it, Rand. You wouldn't be like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. You'd just be like, oh my god, that's amazing. That's hype as hell. And I know you would be. I know True. Everyone would be. But because everyone's been given time to think about it now, everyone's wondering if it's a good thing or not. Because I've seen people in chat say like, "Oh my god, does this hurt Forza?" And you're saying, "Oh my god, does it hurt Battlefield and stuff like that?" I think the rules of engagement have changed a little bit since everything started coming out for PC. I think like back in the day when we had like the Xbox install base as the sort of the only install base where Halo would live in the PC days, and like Forza didn't release on PC either. I think it might have been an issue. But these days, when Forza launches straight onto PC, and there's a huge amount of players on PC, I don't think it hurts Forza. I don't think it hurts Forza at all, personally. I don't think it does. And that is presuming it even launches in full. Maybe they just do another open beta, or a beta test, or a network stress test, and maybe it's just like, for this week only, or like for a few hours every day this week only, or something like that. Maybe it's limited. Maybe it's limited purely to Game Pass Ultimate subscribers, which would limit the player base quite a lot. I don't think it's going to pull racing fanatics away from Forza, necessarily, especially if it's limited. If it's the full game, the full multiplayer drop, I don't think it takes away from Forza, because you've got to think of it this way, Rand. Does Fortnite take away from Forza? Because Fortnite's out now. People love Fortnite. There are millions of players playing Fortnite right now. Or does that just have its player base and that's just, Fortnite? Does Forza just have its player base and that's just sort of Forza? Maybe it would gain players it wouldn't have done. Players like me who are like racing curious. I'm not a racing game driver, but I've tried out Forza purely on the back of all the hype and like you guys like loving it and stuff. Maybe it converts less people like that, but the real hardcore people, the people who are going to buy DLC, the people who subscribed to Game Pass specifically for Forza, I don't think it hurts the games. I really don't. Because you've got to remember that we're in a different era now where retail sales don't matter so much to Microsoft. It's more about what engagement can they get? How many players can they get in? There's going to be millions of people out there who are just like, I ain't going to get Game Pass specifically for Forza because I don't like racing games. I wouldn't have bought Game Pass for Forza, but I might have bought it for Halo. There's going to be millions of people like that out there. They're in a user acquisition mode right now, and I think like the way that this would shadow drop would generate a huge amount of press, a huge amount of hype, and a huge amount of interest. And I think that will bring in all the shooter crowd. It will bring in Fortnite players, or bringing disappointed Call of Duty players, because there's a lot of them right now. There's a lot of disappointed Battlefield players too, because a lot of people don't like what they've done with the class system in Battlefield. And you got to remember, it's a free-to-play game as well, so engagement is God. It is absolutely God there. And, maybe a unique marketing tactic like this is the way you make cast a viral effect over the free-to-play game. Because I tell you, man, I've got a friend who's in the mobile game industry. He works for like one of the big mobile game publishers where everything is free-to-play. When you're like doing free-to-play stuff, user acquisition is sort of like your entire business strategy. It's all about user acquisition. You're not thinking about how many units can I sell. You're thinking about how many units can I get. And these companies, they spend like hundreds of millions of dollars and more, maybe billions of dollars, acquiring users. And that's through like Google word ad placements. That's like, all sorts of weird marketing stunts. Look at the Fortnite does to market Fortnite. Working with celebrities, having Ariana Grande or whatever her name is do a concert in the game, stuff like that. That's how they have to acquire users. So doing something crazy like this, that is how you acquire users for a free-to-play game. And I don't think it's going to hurt Forza. And I think it'll be a really hype moment and stuff like that. I don't think it's going to be as bad as we've been given time to overthink it. I think a lot of people are probably trying to overthink it right now. I don't think you have to overthink it. I think it's just a cool thing. Don't worry about Microsoft. They're almost a $2 trillion company. They'll be okay. They will be okay. Forza will be okay. It's got like huge addressable audience, and if you've just got to imagine, how would you feel if you didn't know this rumor? How would you feel? And that just shadow dropped out of nowhere. It'd just be hype, right?
Yeah, totally.
So, I think there is going to be a lot of people overthinking this, but I don't think it needs to be overthought. It's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a fun show. Oh man,
I know. Like the talk right now is like, is this a good thing or whatever? It's just, and I don't know. Like I said, I've been debating this with myself since I heard about it last month. It was just like, is this like, I couldn't believe it then, and there's a part of me that I don't even believe it now, which is like. It's like, okay, like let's play some Halo, but all right, like it just, I don't know, it's just, I don't even really know what to say, because like I know how people can be, right? You still have people holding what Phil Spencer said about Xbox VR as a thing, like 5 years later or whatever it is. You said Xbox was gonna have VR, and you lied, right? And let's imagine Nate's right. And they do launch the multiplayer on Monday, right? People are going to be like, Joe Staten and Phil Spencer said they were going to launch them together, and you lied, right? Because I know how people can be. So, I don't know. Maybe well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see for Monday. And
you have to remember, literally, think about, if it's a free-to-play game, you got to think about normies. Normies don't know that Phil said they were going to launch them together. Normies don't know this and that. Normies sure as hell ain't gonna care. They're just gonna be like, "Oh shit, I can play Halo right now," Like, who cares, man? If the people crying like, "Oh, Phil lied," like, lied what? He didn't really lie, because that he said that's what we want to do, and then they've changed their mind. I think it's better than overthought, man.
Yeah,
I think
probably.
You just gotta, everyone watching, you just gotta put yourself in the frame of mind. How would you feel if you're watching that show and you didn't know? You'd be hyped. I think everyone would be hyped, and they'd just be like, "Oh my god, that's a megaton! Oh my god, that's a megaton!" Maybe people who aren't into Halo and who are into Forza will be a bit disappointed that some of the shine's been taken off Forza. But you've got to remember, this is one whole ecosystem now. Like, you look at like the way Netflix does things, and they're like, they announce things constantly, left, right, and center, and nobody thinks like, "Oh my god, Stranger Things 4's taken the shine off the new Witcher series," and stuff like that. The idea is user acquisition, have something for everyone, and it's there all the time. I've only just started watching Stranger Things. I've never watched it before. I've only just started watching it. you can play Forza Horizon 5 whenever you want. You know, that's the name of the game now. It's people still think in terms of the old system where it was like all retail sales and stuff like that. Do you think the 7 million Forza players right now? I honestly wonder how many of those are actually retail owners. Probably not a lot. It's all about Game Pass, people. All about Game Pass.
Tom Warren tweeted out that somebody ruined Master Chief's birthday present.
Oh, man.
So I guess we'll find out Monday. We'll find out for sure on Monday. It's either going to happen and people are going to be like, oh shit, or it's not, and people are going to be like, Nate the Hate is wrong. So, but all of you listening now know, I guess it's a possibility. So yeah. RDX Son of Fett says, hope there's more expensive Infinite Edition with early access on December 1st like Forza 5 had. I believe they confirmed that there isn't a more expensive version. That's just the $60 version, and that specific retailers will be doing their own like Ultimate Edition or whatever. Which is weird. Why do Halo of all games should have an official $100 version, shouldn't it, Jez? I mean, it's the franchise, but they aren't doing it.
Does it have a collector's edition?
No, it doesn't. Like, they confirmed that it doesn't. Retailers will do their own collector's Ultimate Editions, but there's not like an official one. So, Edward King says, most relieving thing about the campaign, IGN said that the open world plays not like Far Cry, but more like Arkham Knight, which makes me even more excited and optimistic.
How does that... I can't even... How does that work?
Wow.
Well,
Arkham Knight. So Arkham Knight had everything, and Arkham City had everything kind of in districts, and so you had the open world part, and then like the campaign missions were basically like dungeons, where you would like open a door, and then you would be in this whole like new area where like a main mission would take place. So, like, the main missions would take place essentially not within the open world, which it does sound like some of that is there in Halo Infinite, where it's like you have the open world, but it's, like, gated. Like, you can't, like, go everywhere because there's, like, gaps of the ring missing, and you need to build bridges or get a flying vehicle to get past it, and that it kind of funnels you down a path to get to like an area where it's kind of like quote unquote a dungeon where you go into a building or something and you have the main mission, and then you come out in the open world aspect and you kind of move on to the next story beat, but then you can go off the beaten path and rescue people or capture things and upgrade your abilities and stuff. So that does sound more like Batman than it does like Far Cry, right?
Yeah. I get it. Well, that makes it sound a little bit more compelling to me, but honestly, I didn't rate Arkham Knight, and I know that's controversial. Do you think that's controversial? I didn't rate Arkham Knight. I thought the tank was lame. I thought the open world was like lame, and like some of those missions were just sort of so repetitive, like the whole Firefly thing, the Penguin missions. Like I was sitting there thinking, Penguin deserves a set piece dungeon kind of experience with like set piece cutscenes and set piece moments, and instead you have to sort of track him down to these dumb factories and then kill a bunch of goons and then rinse and repeat over and over again. I don't want it to be like that, because those Firefly events, and I can barely remember most of the game. There were great moments in Arkham Knight, like the whole story, which I won't spoil for people who haven't watched it because haven't played it, because it's a really cool thing they do with the story in Arkham Knight, and that made up for a lot of the open world for me. But I didn't think the open world gameplay was that great. But I also think I'm in the minority there, because it seems like a lot of people did like it. So I don't know.
Right.
J-Boy says Microsoft is a $2.4 trillion company. Jez, you're slacking. My God, $2.4 trillion.
That's a lot of money.
$2.4 trillion.
Shout out to Xbox Expansion Pass, who says, "Cheers Xbox 2." Thank you, Luke. I did his show a couple weekends ago. It was we talked about Halo quite a bit, and we talked about Forza, and it was really good. It was a really good episode, and it makes me, I wonder what we'd be talking about if we knew the Halo thing might be launching early. So Appreciate it. Wolf says, is it sad I want to see the other games from Xbox Game Studios like Fable or Hellblade 2 on the anniversary stream, or is it just me? I just hope it's not a boring sit-down meeting between the executives.
Yeah, I can't say. I'm just gonna say, watch the show, man. Like, I don't think it's gonna be a boring sit-down meeting with the execs. It's gonna be a fun celebration. There will be things revealed. You know, they've said there's not going to be any game reveals, so don't expect like a full rundown of don't expect a deep dive into Fable. They'll save that stuff for E3, and Todd Howard hinted that Starfield will be E3 next year already. Like, he's already hinted that. I'm sure Todd will get on stage and do like the whole sort of you know what Todd does, like gets on stage and do like the really long narrated deep dive into the way Starfield plays, like he did for Fallout and Skyrim in years past. I love it. I love those, by the way. That's how you show a game. Todd Howard is the king of that. But yeah, it's going to be a fun show. I don't want to give things away. Right. You should watch it.
Whittier says it won't be a shadow drop because of the size of the download. Microsoft servers would be hammered by people suddenly rushing to download the multiplayer. Well, I guess we'll find out on Monday.
Have to wait and see.
Yeah, so with that, we got one more. Nathaniel says Arkham City is greater than Arkham Knight. I actually would agree with you. I think Arkham City is the best Batman Arkham game, for sure. And, man, it's been a while since Rocksteady's put out a game. Arkham Knight came out in 2015, Jez, and Suicide Squad's coming out in 2022. That's 7 years. 7 years. So, yeah.
Man, that is a long time ago. I still remember. It's still fresh in my mind playing Arkham Asylum, man. How long ago was that? That was like a million years ago.
Arkham Asylum was 2009, I believe, if I remember correctly.
2009?
Yeah, 2009. So, Jez, let's talk about the games you leaked. Not only you, but Jeffy Grub. So if you guys are enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like button. Let's talk about Jeff's game first, because apparently he talked about this last week on his premium show at Giant Bomb, Grub Snacks, but nobody leaked it because I think Jeff said to be quiet and to trust him, or he wanted to trust chat. So nobody who was listening to the premium version of Grub Snacks said that, Jeff is reporting that 1 versus 100 is a thing. So it actually came out this week. So I guess the Giant Bomb community were able to keep a secret for a week. So, yeah, Jeff is basically saying that definitely 1 versus 100 is coming back. And
interesting.
I think he mentioned the studio, which I don't recall off the top of my head. Begins with an A. Alt VR or something. They're owned by Microsoft. They're using the Teams thing. The Teams avatars.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Microsoft's major acquisition, Alt Space VR?
No, I don't. Explain this to me.
So, this is funny because, this was Microsoft getting into the metaverse before Facebook did. This is 2 or 3 years ago now. But Microsoft bought a company called Alt Space VR, which is it's basically VR chat. You can just go into VR with custom avatars and do stuff, blah blah blah. It's just like the demo that what's his face, Zuckerberg revealed, and Microsoft owns it, and it was part of their push into Xbox mixed reality. Sorry, not Xbox mixed reality. Windows mixed reality at the time, which ultimately completely failed, and whatever. And it looks like Alt Space now is sort of being pivoted across to Xbox to do some sort of casual games on our side of the fence, which sounds really cool to me because Microsoft's VR play is probably not going to go much further than this. But yeah, it does sound very interesting. Did you ever play the original Rand Althor 19?
I love 1 versus 100. You did not, because it wasn't in the UK?
Was it not in the UK?
I mean, I don't know. I know
is
I'm
that
proud because they were offering prizes, so I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't everywhere. Dude, 1 versus 100 was such a unique concept.
How does it work? Tell me and everyone in chat who doesn't know.
It was a live show that was happening. You would like join a lobby, and it would be all these people in the crowd, most people, and there would be one person, like the main person, and they would ask trivia questions, and if you got them all right, you won prizes. Microsoft money, consoles, whatever. And it was just so cool, like being in a party with your boys, doing this like live thing with trivia. It was such like nobody was doing this, and everybody loved it. But obviously there must have been some sort of fallout, or not necessarily fallout. Probably fallout's not a good word, but maybe licensing issues with using 1 versus 100 or whatever. And they stopped doing it. But, Phil's been talking about it. Like, he mentioned it last year to Survivor. I mean, he pretty much said, wouldn't it be... He pretty much said what you said to me last week about Halo Infinite's multiplayer releasing on Monday, when you were like, wouldn't that be cool if it did? Like,
you always do that, man. You always say, like... You always make predictions that mysteriously come true.
Look...
It's like that's your brand.
I don't know.
Rand.
I'm just, but
it's
even
Rand brand.
I'm never gonna come out.
Rand,
I'm never gonna come out and say it's something's for sure happening, because I always doubt everything I hear. So, but either way, like Phil was basically saying, yeah, we would love to do it again, and with the report from Jeff that they are definitely doing it. What a great time to bring it back, right? Like there is still no game like that on any of the consoles. And with Xbox's expanded ecosystem, like you play it on your console, you play it on your PC, you can play this quiz game show on your phone or your tablet. Like, it could reach so many more players. I think, honestly, I think it would be one of those things that is exclusive to Game Pass. I don't even think they would sell it. It would just be like 1 versus 100. You have to be subscribed to Game Pass to play it. But
yeah,
I think it's so cool.
That Tetris game on Nintendo.
Yeah, the Tetris 99 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's super cool that it's coming back. I don't know when it's coming, but I would be so pumped for that game because it was really cool. So 1 versus 100 is coming back, and then we have your leak from yesterday regarding
me.
Yeah, One Bad Mother says he super chats, says loves this show's quote unquote predictions. And LeBurn98 says the Batmobile in Arkham Knight was like the dev saying we spent months developing this thing and we sure as hell are going to use it. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So everybody's been wondering. There's been one studio that Xbox acquired in 2018 that people have been wondering what they're working on. Like, we know Playground was working on Forza Horizon 5 and Fable. Everybody knew that. Well, we know what the initiative's working on now. There were Perfect Dark, Undead Labs working on State of Decay 3. We even know Obsidian. They're working on 4 projects, right? Jeff said Josh Sawyer's Project Missouri. You said the name of the game is Pentiment. They're also doing Outer Worlds 2, Avowed, and finishing up on Grounded. In Exile, we know, is doing they were working on Wasteland 3, and now they're working on Project Cobalt, so we don't know for sure. We kind of know what it is, but we don't.
Yeah.
And Ninja Theory making Project Mara and Hellblade 2, so a lot of those acquisitions in 2018, we know what they're working on, but it was always Compulsion was the one that nobody had a clue, like, what they possibly could be making. And they were one of the studios I always doubted. I always kind of look at them and like, I don't know what people see in them. Like, We Happy Few didn't really care for. Contrast was an interesting idea, but wasn't that great. So I was interested just seeing like, okay, what did Xbox see in this team that made want them to acquire them? What are they bringing to the table? Well, you have some information, basically that they're working on a third-person action-adventure game. Dark fantasy. Can you tell us more about Project Midnight from Compulsion?
Yeah, so Project Midnight. I've had information on this for quite a long time, but recently it became apparent to me that it was gonna leak imminently, because of like how bad Microsoft is at keeping things under wraps. So I thought, well, if it's gonna leak, it might as well be me. I do think leaks suck, and you know, but it's like open season on leaks right now because the whole work from home thing. It's become really hard for Microsoft to like keep things in secure places, shall we say? And because of that, there's all sorts of information rolling all over the internet about all sorts of Microsoft things and other companies too, like Apple. Like, look at Facebook. Facebook is leaking like crazy right now if you pay attention to tech news. But alas, it does suck. But, I've got to pay the bills. But anyway, I digress. So Compulsion has beefed up their team. They've, pivot. They tried to, rescue We Happy Few, and I did go back and play We Happy Few recently to like after getting this information. I wanted to sort of refresh my memory about where Compulsion have been as a studio and where they're heading towards. And I got this information about Project Midnight. Midnight is a code name. It's not the game's name as far as I'm aware. It's just a code name right now, so it could be called something else. The character in the picture that it showed is the main character. So it's going to be a story-driven third-person action game. With a magic is going to be sort of a central portion of the game. There's going to be like a whole load of magic. The team's doing a ton of research into sort of Southern Gothic. They describe it as, like New Orleans, I think. Now this is where it gets hard because I'm not really that super familiar with this stuff. My knowledge of Southern Gothic lore and New Orleans is like that Disney movie. What is it? Princess and the Frog. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
That sort of stuff. As far as I know, it's like dark fantasy. There's like mutated human harpy creatures in it that look. The concept art looks sick. It's going to be heavily stylized. So I expect a similar art style to We Happy Few, and I do think that the art style was one of We Happy Few's strong points. If I might suggest, would you agree with that, Rand?
Yes, its art style was very, very strong.
Yeah, so like they're sort of keeping that. It'll be next gen, but it'll be like. What they're known for is that sort of dark, twisted, sort of almost Tim Burton-esque Bioshock sort of cartoony, but also uncannily not cartoony sort of thing. Like We Happy Few's art style was like immediately recognizable, and it's still memorable even now, even though the game itself was not great. The art style was completely on point. So I expect something similarly dark and twisted and intriguing to that. And then also, one of the producers on the game is Genevieve Bourget, her name is. I probably pronounced her name wrong, and I apologize for that. But she's a Canadian developer who produced Far Cry 5. So, and I think Far Cry 5 had one of the stronger Far Cry stories. So I think that's a very promising thing there. But they're doing a ton of research about the whole Southern Gothic stuff, and mythology and lore and, those kind of tropes. So some of the concept art that I shared, like, had a sort of swampy vibe to it, So, and there's some like AAA pedigree devs working on this game. So I am pretty damn intrigued about it. I don't know a great deal about it beyond that. That's pretty much everything I got on the game right now. And I don't know when it could come out. I don't think we'll see it next year. I think we might see it 2023, maybe for a late 2023 launch, or maybe even a 2024 launch. But yeah, it sounds really intriguing, and I'm pretty excited for it. But that's about it. That's all I got now. Don't compare it to Far Cry. Someone said people are going to compare it to Far Cry now. Genevieve's worked on like loads of games. I just mentioned Far Cry because that you can sort of infer the way the writing and quality bar will go given her work on Far Cry 5. it's not going to play like Far Cry. So, but yeah,
quick tangent. Did you see one of the big producers who's been on every Far Cry game the last 10 years has left the company?
Yeah, I did see that. And
And
also Jeff Grubby Grub. It was Jeff Grubb, right? Jeff Grubb tweeted that Far Cry's pivot into a service game.
a live service game. Imagine that from Ubisoft. That's exactly what people wanted from a new Far Cry, is a live service game, of course. That's what everybody wants, you know?
Yeah, my sort of my strategy with Ubisoft right now is to ignore it completely until I hear that something good has happened, because I just have such low expectations of them. But anyway, that's off on a tangent. Like, what do you think about Project Midnight and how it sounds? Like, does that sound like your kind of game? Because also it's completely single player. And one of the things I always get asked about is like, where are the single player games? When are the single player third person games coming? Well, there you go. Project Midnight is one of the third person single player action games.
I mean, I'm definitely intrigued. I know there's been a lot of people, especially the one and only Lord Cognito, who's been, campaigning for #JustOne. Do you think this is the Just One that he's wanted, Jez?
What does Just One mean?
Just One is basically he wants a Sony game, basically a third-person cinematic action adventure experience that a PlayStation would make, in the veins of Last of Us or God of War or Horizon Zero Dawn or Days Gone or something like that. Would this fit? Because I know he's going to be listening. Would this fit his Just One that he's been asking for?
No, I mean, it's like I say, it's going to be heavily stylized. It's not going to be cinematic in that kind of vein, and also it's going to have a much smaller team, presumably. Although, like, people in chat were saying that Compulsion's got 80 employees, and yeah, they'll be like outsourced development and stuff. But I often wonder, like, could Microsoft cut some kind of deal similarly to what they've done for Crystal Dynamics with Perfect Dark to bring up the staff count on the game if the concept's strong enough? Or maybe they'd do that for a sequel after it's been proven to be successful or something. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know, man. Is it going to be cinematic and on the same level as, Last of Us? Given the size of Compulsion, I would say probably not, But it's sort of pitching in that sort of direction, Maybe the sequel would be. But, I also kind of don't want to underestimate Compulsion, because we've seen literally nothing of the game beyond some concept art yet. I haven't seen anything in the game. It's not like Avowed, where I've actually seen gameplay of Avowed. I haven't seen any gameplay of this, even though I know it exists somewhere in the dark spaces of the interwebs. So, yeah.
Interesting.
I'd hope so. I hope it scratches that itch that I know people have.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me that much, It really doesn't bother me. Like, I played Last of Us Remastered like a few years ago, and it's a great game. Absolutely loved it. I think Last of Us Remastered has like one of the most gut-wrenching intros I've ever experienced in a game.
Yeah, the intro is...
Would I trade that for Halo? Would I trade that for Starfield? Would I trade that for my RPGs? Would I trade that for Brian Fargo? I don't think so, man. So everyone likes something different, right?
That is true. And Xbox needs as many different types of games for Game Pass. So, your game that COG wants is something that Xbox should make, because there are a segment of gamers that love it.
Yeah.
So Zero Miss says Compulsion Games has 100 devs and counting. So that's what he says. No, I mean, I read your leak. I think it's cool. I have to see more gameplay. Like a dark fantasy third-person action adventure game sounds pretty interesting. Just need to see what it's like, But yeah, I mean, because when I look at We Happy Few and how excited people were for that based on that initial story trailer, like if they could build out something like that into a full game instead of what We Happy Few was, I think it would be like they'd be onto something. And maybe they just didn't have the budget or didn't know what they wanted to do with We Happy Few. And now it's like, all right, here's the time, make what you want. Here's the team, this is what you want to build, and go do it, instead of like kind of shifting priorities with what happened with like We Happy Few, where it was like we want story, but it's only a little story, and then it's like a survival game, and then people really wanted the story, so they added it later and stuff. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. I'm looking forward to finding out more about it. So
reactions seem pretty damn positive towards
yeah,
the concept at least, and people seem to really like the character. I actually think I know her name, and I think her name is Halo.
really?
Unless like my information is wrong, or it's like misspelled or mispronounced or something. Maybe it's Haley, something like that. Begins with a H.
Now
and it sounded to me like Halo.
Now you also had
I don't know.
two other code names in your article: Project Vonnegut and Project Velvet.
Yeah.
Some people were speculating that Project Vonnegut might be Shadowrun, maybe by Arcane. Although, typically, I don't think you've seen any Arcane or any Bethesda code names for projects, right? So
yeah, I haven't seen Shred, but the Redfall gameplay did leak, which makes me think there is a leak somewhere in the works at that studio. So maybe it could be Arcane. But speaking of Arcane, just to go off on another slight tangent, did you see that Arx Fatalis got rated recently, which was Arcane's first ever game? Did you see that got rated?
I did not.
Recently?
I did see that. The creative director behind Deathloop is now the studio head of Arcane. Leon.
Yeah, I did see that. And the studio founder retired, didn't he, or left to join somewhere else?
Yeah, he left. So, I mean, yeah. I would take a Shadowrun by Arcane. That would be amazing.
I never played Shadowrun. Dude, you gotta tell me what Shadowrun is, because people seem to love this game. And look on Metacritic, and it's rated like 7 out of 10. So,
what you talking about? You're talking about Shadowrun, the FPS that they brought back in 2016 or whatever year it was. You talking?
I have no idea, man. What is it? What is Shadowrun? Come on, tell me.
Just Google Shadowrun, bro.
Oh man, there's too much work.
I know.
Too much
right?
work. What about people in chat? I've never heard of Shadowrun.
I mean, I'm sure somebody in chat will definitely tell you all about Shadowrun. But I don't care what Arcane makes. Whatever Arcane makes is gonna be great. Because if it's Shadowrun, it's gonna be fantastic. If it's something else, whatever it is, it'll be amazing. I have the utmost faith in anything Arcane does. So, yeah. What else we got here, Jez? So we're not gonna really talk about this, but how it really impacts Xbox. But Steam Deck was delayed to February, right?
Yeah.
And we've heard reports that Nintendo had to basically downgrade their projections for the Switch as well as PlayStation. Jez, how long is this freaking chip shortage going to last? Is it going to be impossible to get an Xbox Series X for all of 2022 at this point? Because it definitely seems like it's affecting everybody else. And
you know what? Our top article of the week is about the chip shortage, because they've finally found the bottleneck in the supply chain that's causing all the issues, and it's actually America's fault. It's actually all America's fault, Rand. What are you doing? It's your fault.
It's always
it's your fault, Rand.
It's always my fault. It's always my fault.
Well, apparently there is a company in Texas which I've never heard of called Texas Instruments. And they own a patent on some kind of voltage converter, which all semiconductors need to function. And they are the only company that can manufacture these voltage converters, or whatever they are. Don't really fully understand it. Maybe someone in chat does. They're the only company who can manufacture these voltage converters that all chips need. And TMSC, who make semiconductors, have said, this is all Texas Instruments' fault. They can't supply enough voltage converters, or whatever they are, and therefore we can't make the semiconductors fast enough, which means we can't make the chips fast enough, which means it's all Texas Instruments' fault. That is supposedly the issue. And because they own the patent on it, no one else can make them or something. I've never, people in chat, you've never heard of Texas Instruments? Yeah, people say Texas Instruments make the calculators. I've never heard of Texas Instruments until this week. But apparently it's all their fault. It's all their fault. And Intel was saying this semiconductor shortage is going to last until 2024. So, and you ain't going to be able to buy PlayStation, Xbox Series X, or anything until 2024. So, that's, yeah. Euramalas in chat says you've never used a TI-85 in high school. Dude, I was barely at high school. Think I know how to use a calculator? Actually, I do. I can spell boobies with a calculator.
Hey, Jez.
Do you ever do that on a calculator?
Yes, of course I've done that. But we have a few people telling you what Shadowrun is to you. And I know reading this, it's going to excite you. So Steven and Pong Soul says that Shadowrun is a pen and paper RPG set in a cyberpunk world with J.R.R. Tolkien type mythical creatures and races.
Ah, right. That sounds pretty damn rad. All I know is that Shadowrun is owned by the FASA, who also own the MechWarrior franchise, or like parts of the MechWarrior franchise. And I always thought there was some kind of licensing problem with the MechWarrior and the Shadowrun IPs, but maybe it was just the MechWarrior IP that there was an issue with. But maybe Microsoft's resolved them. I don't know. But yeah, it's if it is Shadowrun and it's a cyberpunk RPG, that sounds pretty damn cool to me. But I have no information on that. I only know the codename Vonnegut. I have no idea what game it's attached to. Jeff Grubb said he'd heard it could be Shadowrun, and also Velvet is like Velvet. I don't know anything about, apart from the fact Velvet is super early. So Velvet is like, Project Velvet's probably a 2025, 2026 game. That's like much later.
I mean, like Soul's Project Dragon, though.
Don't know about that, man.
Oh, I mean, is it a 2023 game? No.
It said in the brief that I've got that it was in 2023 but
yeah, we know how
that was before the pandemic.
Yeah, well, it wasn't Project Typhoon targeting 2021 as well at one point?
Yeah.
And when's that game supposed to be coming out?
2022?
2023?
Oh, is it 23?
I mean, you would imagine if it was coming out next year, they would have said it at the E3. You know?
Well,
anyways,
there you go.
Yeah, so it's gonna be hard to get stuff. Hard to get new consoles, and oh man, I thought this stuff would be over with, but apparently not. So yeah, more scalpers selling these consoles for more money.
And potato chips.
Yeah. The Don says, Rand Jez, y'all know anything more about the alleged Halo drop on November 15th? Nate the Hate supposedly confirmed it not too long ago. Yes, we talked about it already at length. Nate the Hate's put it out there. If he's wrong, he's wrong. But it's also something that, me and Jez have been hearing for a month now that was a possibility. But I don't know for sure if it is. So I will be watching intently with you guys. Like, I have it in back of my mind. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if it did, because I've been hearing about it for a while. But yeah, I'm just not gonna be. I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure about anything. Don't listen to Jez when he says, like, my predictions. Like, I'm never sure about anything until it actually happens.
Nah, Rand's lying, man. Rand literally knows everything going on at Xbox right now.
No, that's not true.
He knows how Aaron Greenberg takes his coffee, man.
No, that's definitely not true.
That's how much Rand knows.
No,
Rand,
not at all.
Rand Al omnipresent, man.
Nope.
Jace.
Jeremy G says, what about Project Gotham Racing? I really enjoyed Project Gotham Racing. I think most of the devs from Bizarre when they got shut down formed Playground Games. And that's why they're very similar. Yeah. So Xbox has 2 racing franchises. I don't really see them doing a third. It's just a Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon, and that's it. I actually remember talking to Phil about that in 2015 when Forza Horizon was kind of like first really getting going after 2. And he kind of basically told me that, yeah, we have 2 racing franchises and we don't really need a third. Arigato says, sup guys, I got a question. Why isn't Skyrim Anniversary on Game Pass? I don't like that I have to pay for the same game for the 3rd generation in a row.
You don't, do you? Don't you just... Isn't it just an update for the special edition?
So it's convoluted. That's why people think...
Convoluted?
All right, so, look.
Let's hear it. Give it to me,
Rand.
So
the Skyrim Anniversary Edition is basically a whole bunch of creator content, right? From the Creators Club.
Right.
So this new release... So, like, if you don't own Skyrim, you can buy this Anniversary Edition for $50. If you own Skyrim from last gen, the Xbox One version, that's in Game Pass, that is automatically updated to next gen. You get a free next gen update that runs it at 4K 60. But to get the Anniversary Edition content, that creators of content, you have to pay an upgrade fee of $18. You're basically just paying for DLC. The update to get 60 frames in 4K is free. And there's also free stuff I think there's like a free dungeon added or whatever. But it's confusing because because it has a new name, the Anniversary Edition, people look at it as a new release. But it's not a new release. It's just a free update for the game for next gen. And if you want the creators content, you have to pay for it, and there's a small fee if you own the previous version. So that's how it works.
That is convoluted.
It is convoluted. They got fishing in it now.
That's good.
We know how much you love fishing.
Yep, fishing is good. You guys like fishing, right?
Who doesn't like fishing? Sherman Jacob says, any acquisitions coming on the 15th? What do you think about acquisitions, Jez? Which is a topic.
That's a wild card, isn't it? I personally don't know. I don't know if there's acquisitions coming. I doubt it. I really kind of doubt it. But, man, who knows? If there's one thing Microsoft could possibly keep from leaking, it might be an acquisition. Maybe. But at the same time, I just sort of... I don't know. It'd be a good place to announce that kind of thing. So if you do have an acquisition in the works, and you do have a letter of intent or whatever, like, out there, this show would be the last opportunity of the year to announce it, because, I mean, you're not going to be able to announce that at the Game Awards, are you? Because it's, it's nothing to do with the Game Awards. So, if there is an acquisition in the works, this is the last opportunity you'll probably hear about it. But I also haven't heard anything on my end. What do you think, Rand? What do you think, buddy?
I mean, this kind of goes into a topic about more Xbox acquisitions. Phil's talked about it recently. So has Sarah Bond. But this time, Phil's talked about more casual games, right? So...
Oh, yeah, casual games.
Yeah, which... I mean, he's mentioned this before in 2020, that he feels like that is a spot in their lineup that needs to be filled. That there's definitely an audience that wants... and, I would maybe even go as far as say, like, 1 versus 100 is that sort of content. More casual and stuff like that, more for a general audience. And that, like, they're always looking, and it needs to be a win-win for both them and for whoever they're acquiring. But, I mean, they've said it the whole year. Satya said it. Like, Matt Booty said it. Phil and Sarah said it. It's going to happen. The question is, will it happen at this show on Monday? I would imagine it's a pre-recorded show. So... if there was a thing, so it would be pre-recorded, and I would imagine that would get out somehow. So I'm just going to say probably not, and hope I'm wrong, which would be cool. But I've always kind of thought, like, I thought more acquisitions would come next year, not this year, because they were, trying to get Bethesda deal done and stuff, right? So.
Yeah. Who would you like them to buy? Who do you think they should buy for the good of the business, and who would you like them to buy?
Geez.
You can't think about it. You got to be quick.
I mean, Warner Brothers Games. I've said this before. It fills a lot of holes that Xbox has. Right? You get a fighting game studio in NetherRealm to make Mortal Kombat or Mortal Kombat versus Killer Instinct or what have you. You have Rocksteady and Warner Brothers Montreal that can continue to make superhero content, and that's such a big thing, right? With Sony having the Marvel games, if you were able to somehow to get a license agreement saying like, hey, we give you an exclusive license for Batman and DC characters for the next 20 years, right? That would fill that hole. You also get a studio in Traveler's Tale that has can make a lot of kid games. Like I would imagine them. Like maybe they could even make like a Lego Minecraft game. Like they would fit that bill. Monolith is a great developer. Like they can do whatever you'd have them do. And then they have a bunch of support studios. And Xbox is lacking in support studios. A lot of their support studios they have used like Splash Damage and Sumo. They've been acquired by other companies. So like when I look at that, when you say like which one fits the bill, it's like to me, it's Warner Brothers Games. They fill so much of what Xbox needs. Like sure, somebody could point to Take-Two and be like Grand Theft Auto. You get Grand Theft Auto, you win. I mean, yeah, there's no debating Grand Theft Auto is the biggest franchise in the world, and that would but I don't know if I'm looking at a publisher that has a lot of different things working for them that fills a lot of different gaps. It's Warner Brothers. Maybe you could point to Sega with their focus on PC, which is we know something Xbox is interested in. They have a lot of PC developers, but I think that partnership. I don't think the partnership's going to lead to acquisitions, but as we talked about last podcast, you do think that partnership is going to be more significant than people think. But no, it'd be Warner Brothers, like straight up, like without a doubt for me. Like if I was running the business and I was trying to fill gaps in my portfolio, that's the one that I would hit.
Fair.
So yeah. Rebellious says, thanks to Manscaped, my girlfriend never let go of my mayo dispenser anymore. Ooh. JC says, buy Texas Instruments stock. They're going to boom. Okay.
Dog tip for you there.
Yeah. The one and only Brap is in the chat. He says, hey, Rand Jez, have a great weekend, gents. Halo multiplayer on 11/15. Let's go. That definitely seems to be the rumor, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. Brap, hope you're doing good, man. Rick says, best can't speak. Best Xbox podcast out there, brings a smile to my Friday nights. Love you guys. Plus, hit that like button, people. Thank you for all the support, guys. And if you're enjoying the show, yeah, please do us a favor and hit that like button. And if you want to buy a product from Manscaped, make sure you use the code XP2. Geez, I'm going to be saying this for... Anyways, Manscaped.
Manscaped. Weekend the gentleman.
Yeah. So Todd Howard also was out there talking about Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Starfield. I did see. I don't know if anybody's seen the new the artwork, concept art that Starfield's put out. Like, oh my god, it looks incredible. Like,
I did not. Concept art.
Yeah, there's a lot of concept art and that came out from it that looks so cool. And there was asked, like, basically, is the release date set in stone for Starfield? And he said, well, it's written in ink. It's not written in pencil. But you wouldn't say like 100%. Like, you can't really say 100% it's coming out because who knows what happens in game development. Maybe they run into a problem. Maybe, the pandemic rears its ugly head again and, it slows down. So, like, he says they feel confident that, they can hit 11/11. And I mean, let's hope so. The thing about Fallout 5 that I thought was interesting was basically he was asked if like somebody else could do it, and he definitely seemed very protective and was kind of giving off the vibe that no, nobody else is doing Fallout, and that he understands the wait in between games is too long, and they would want to get out games faster. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? If they're not going to let someone else do Fallout 5, and honestly, I don't really think they should, even though my friend Mr. Matty Plays wants them to because Fallout, he loves Fallout, but man, it's going to be a while before a new Fallout, Jez, because you got Starfield next year. Cross our fingers, nothing goes wrong, right? Then they hit next year. You would imagine Elder Scrolls 6 is probably a minimum 4 years after that, right? So like 2026.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And then you would imagine Fallout 4 is probably another 4 years after that. So you're looking at like 2030. Because they do say they have a one-pager about what they want to do with Fallout. And I'm just like, 2030 is a long way away. That's 9 years from now. Will we even be podcasting 9 years from now, Jez?
Dude, will the Earth even be here in 2030? That's what I think. Oh man, 2030. I do think Elder Scrolls is probably closer. I do think that. You gotta remember, Bethesda has multiple dev teams. We don't know what some of them are working on, and there's always the chance that Microsoft could spin up another dev team. You know, I'm sure there is a world that exists where it would be beneficial to have, you know, Bethesda release games more than twice a decade, maybe. There's a world where that exists. With Todd Howard overseeing like the Fallout franchise and the Elder Scrolls franchise, you know, and Starfield franchise, you know, if Starfield's as good as everyone hopes, maybe that'll become a franchise too, you know. But yeah, I would want to believe that Fallout 5 comes before 2030. Surely, no?
I mean,
dude, yeah, Claymud in chat. 2030, the world is going to be Fallout.
I mean, people said, will we even get to 2020 when we were in 2000? I'm just saying, if you look at like their release pattern, right? This is Todd's like their last game before Starfield was Fallout 4 in 2015, right? Am I correct? And this one's taken 7 years. Am I correct? You know, they updated the engine, so am I being a little bit too optimistic with the 4-year gap in between games?
Ah, man, I don't know, man.
I mean,
I don't know,
because I've talked to a couple people about this. It's like, you know, people be like, well, why don't you let Obsidian do Fallout 5 or another Fallout game, or let NXile do it? But like, maybe they don't want to. Maybe they're like, well, screw working on Fallout. We're going to make our own Fallout killer called The Outer Worlds. Yeah. And we're going to do our own Skyrim and Avowed. Like, why do we want to work on somebody else's thing when we can make our own thing, right?
Well, you do know that, you know, the studio head of Obsidian did work on the OG Fallout games, the 2D ones. So, like, there is some kind of, like, there is a legacy there that Obsidian has with Fallout, or some of the, like, veteran devs have. Like, and in Exile too. Like, Wasteland. Fallout is literally Wasteland 2. The original Fallout game was supposed to be Wasteland 2. But licensing issues meant they had to make a new franchise. So instead of making Wasteland 2, they made Fallout 1. Like, there's that whole sort of thing. Like in Exile, Obsidian and Bethesda share this kind of, and even Blizzard to some degree, they all share this sort of, this common ancestry where they sort of split off from Interplay and sort of turned into different studios and all kinds of stuff and that kind of thing. So, yeah, like Nico in chat says, studio head of Exile actually created the Fallout universe. So, you know, there is some kind of, I think there is a world where Obsidian maybe makes, I don't know, Fallout New Vegas 2? Fallout New Vegas remake in the current engine, you know, reimagined or something. I don't know, but I do feel like if they wanted to, it would be absolutely killer. Because for me, I still think Fallout New Vegas is the best 3D Fallout game. I still think that. So I don't know. It's interesting to think about.
It is. Also, this week was the 1 year anniversary of the Xbox Series X. So I kind of wanted to get your thoughts about your your thoughts on your thoughts. How do you feel about the Series X after a year, Jez? Is it lived
How do
up?
I
Has it
feel?
lived up to the hype? Are you happy with the exclusive games Xbox has delivered? Tell me how you feel about 1 year
Well,
with the
you know,
Beast. The Beast.
I
What
did.
was it? Was it the X? What do they call it? The this one eats monsters for breakfast or whatever the marketing thing was, right?
Yeah, yeah. Monsters for breakfast. I do think, I didn't buy my Xbox. I got it from Microsoft. So, sort of like thinking about did I have purchase regrets? It sort of doesn't really apply. However, I have bought two of my own Xbox Series X's. I bought one for Germany, and I bought my brother's Xbox Series X. So I believe, even though I did get a review unit, I'm still qualified to talk about it because I've spent a lot of money on Xbox Series X's, and I think it has lived up to the hype and the expectations, and I am thoroughly happy with it. You know, the operating system. It's like you remember when the Xbox One launched, everything was a mess. They had to hack away at the dashboard for years and years and years to make it even basically functional. Like, and now we launched out of the gate into a relatively polished way. Yeah, there was some kind of bugs and issues with quick resume. Even now, quick resume's still a little bit inconsistent and unclear which games support it and which games don't. But like, and also, I don't think ray tracing has lived up to the hype. But it's arguable that Microsoft didn't really hype that up so much themselves. I think it was like a little bit of hype for ray tracing coming from all different corners of the internet, I think. But I think like what we've seen this year is really the very first sort of hint of what it's going to be like with Phil Spencer's vision leading Xbox. Like we had to wait for the funding to get there. We had to wait for acquisitions. We had to wait for games to be developed. We had to wait for Game Pass to be built up over time. We had to wait for the hardware to slot into place and all this. And it feels like, yeah, Xbox One was a lost generation. Like even now, there's people like, I speak to people who aren't really that connected with gaming, who talk about Xbox One and even the Xbox 360 stuff. Like I spoke to someone recently who was like, "Well, don't Xboxes overheat?" And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean? Like in heat tests, like if you use an IR camera, like the PS5 generally comes out at a hotter temperature than the Xbox One while Xbox Series X while running games." And he was like, "No, I mean like the red ring of death. Isn't that still a thing?" He was talking about the red ring of death.
Jeez, the red ring of death. Wow.
Yeah, he wasn't talking about current gen at all. So like there is that sort of. I do think there is like a legacy of negativity about Xbox that they still need to push over. But I do think this is like, it's almost like the whole company's been rebooted. And this is this year's been like a sort of singularity of everything Phil Spencer and the team has done to sort of fix that, I think. Yeah, Leonardo Vega in chat summed up really well. Xbox One was Microsoft's Wii U. I think that's a really great way of putting it, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. But are you happy with it? Are there still things that you're bothered about? Still,
well, I mean, there are of course things that could be better, but overall, I think this is, as a console, I think it's probably, like, technically what it's doing is probably the best console I've had. I mean, I don't really have memories of my Genesis or my NES or whatever, but like, what I was looking forward to most about this gen was at least 60 frames being standard. And for the most part, that's been the case. Like, I think there's been one game I played that has come out from, that's been Series X and X Enhanced or whatever, that's been 30 frames, and that's the medium. So immediately, my thought of like what I want from the Series X and S and the PS5 is 60 frames, better frame rate, and I'm getting that. And we're getting stuff in 120 frames. Like we're playing the Halo Infinite multiplayer at 120, Call of Duty 120 and stuff. So it's even gone further than what I initially thought. So from the hardware perspective, it's like I can't argue with how great and stable everything is, because when you look at the 360, when you look at Xbox One, 30 frames, but then most games really weren't hitting a lock 30. You've seen a lot of frame dips, which really impacted my enjoyment of some stuff. You had games in 720p, 900p, and 1080p, and those don't really look good on, high-end TVs. But it's like with the Series X, it's like everything looks, for the most part, great. 4K, solid frame rate. You have the technology in these TVs with VRR, so you don't really see the frame rate or frame rate fluctuations. So from that aspect, like, it's exactly what I wanted. The dashboard originally being like 1080p was a bit disappointing, but now it's in 4K, so it looks a lot better. So that's great. I appreciate them actually sticking with the not wanting to build a new dashboard simply because they felt they needed to, because it was it's a new system, so of course it has to be a new UI, right? So personally, I like that they've kept it the same. With that said, like ray tracing has been a big disappointment for me in the games I played with ray tracing. You're getting ray tracing, but like at 30 frames, or it really isn't that really noticeable. So it's kind of like, okay, this was kind of a big thing, but it really hasn't turned, at least not yet. Maybe we'll be talking differently about ray tracing 2 to 3 years from now. I do think the game DVR needs work. I think that's a sort, like, sharing in the game DVR is maybe something that's a lot of people message me about that. I'm sure a lot of people have messaged you about that because you've done articles about like the game DVR and the sharing stuff, and I think that's something Xbox does need to improve. So like the hardware front, I think it's amazing. Then you talk about the games, and it would be interesting because I would have a different answer for you depending on if you wanted to talk about the first 6 months of Xbox Series X. I would pretty much have the same answer, but then when it came to the games part, I would say Xbox Game Studio was basically like a D, because the only thing they would have released was Gears Tactics, which was a late PC port. But considering we were covering the first year, and they ended up putting out a lot of high-quality games, which is always exactly what I wanted from Xbox. You got Flight Sim, you got Psychonauts 2, you got Forza Horizon 5. So they've ended the year on a really good, strong foot. Halo's coming, and, from the impressions of the single player, it sounds like it's going to be quite good. And we already know that the multiplayer is going to be excellent because we've all played it. So the first 6 months are definitely a lot different than the end 6 months. So like, if I were to give Xbox Game Studios like a D for the first 6 months, like I would basically give it like a B plus, almost an A. I mean, if Halo hits, then you pretty much got to give them an A. And that's not even including something like Deathloop, which isn't playable on Xbox right now, but is also from an Xbox studio. So it's like, then you even got something like Age of Empires 4, which is people like and is like highly rated as well. So it's like, this might be the best year for Xbox games, quality-wise in a time. And then you had Hivebusters come out in December of last year, which was a very good quality DLC expansion. And it's like, man, Xbox really killed it with games this year. Not the first 6 months, but definitely we were talking about a year, but you'd have to give them props for what they've done. And Game Pass, I think for the kind of the same thing, like the first 6 months of Game Pass, outside of those big announcements of, hey, here's MLB The Show, and here's Outriders. Like, I thought the first 6 months weren't that great, but the last 6 months have been fantastic. There's some really cool games, big games coming to Game Pass. So it's definitely been a tale of two halves. So yeah, like I've been really damn happy with Xbox, the system, its capabilities, and their game output the last 6 months. and hopefully this continues. Like, my only concern is I wish Xbox didn't. And this is something that me and you have always talked about. Was that I feel Xbox always back ends their year. And that's not something they can do moving forward because like you need games in the beginning part of the year so you keep people subscribed to Game Pass. So and we know like next year we're going to see Redfall, Forza Motorsport, Starfield later in the year. So there's still some question marks about the beginning of the year. We know we got Stalker 2, probably Crossfire X because it got delayed. Bright Memory Infinite and all these other games that I can't think of off the top of my head. But when they start putting out games consistently from quarter 1 to quarter 4, that will be the beginning of like the new Xbox era. When you don't have to wait until September to get the next game from Xbox Game Studios because there'll be a game in February, there'll be a game in May, right? One every single quarter. So overall, like I think it's been a pretty damn good year. I would love to know what you guys think in chat. How are you feeling about Xbox's first year? Give us I'll make a poll. How about that? I'll make a poll, Jez. How do you feel about Xbox's game output this year?
Like the game output has been pretty good. You know, it's weird, man, because my gaming habits have changed so much since having this job. It's like back in the day, I'd do my 9 to 5, IT guy, and then the whole evening I just jump on my friends and play games and stuff. But now like I work random hours here and there, and sometimes like I rarely get a day where I can just sit down and play the stuff that I want to play. You know, it's a bit weird, So I've got a huge backlog of stuff. And I suppose if there's people who are like, they do have like regular working hours, like a regular sort of, set working hours, and they don't have to like stop what they're doing and jump off to like do other things in the middle of the game. Because I hate that, man. I hate that when I'm like, I'm in the zone in a story game or something, and then I get pulled off it. So I've started gravitating towards games where I can easily like pick them up and put them down. Like, like Overwatch. I played so much of Overwatch just because the games are so short. And it's not such a big deal if I have to leave a match, So I haven't had any issues with what games I've been able to play. Has there been any like super duper bangers this year that I'll be like, man, I'm going to be thinking about that for years to come, like Dragon Age Origins and stuff like that? Probably not, but I had a lot of that last year, though, because, I really enjoyed Cyberpunk, and I know it's super unpopular, but Cyberpunk was probably my game of the gen, personally. It's certainly top 3 up there with Monster Hunter and Prey. So... And technically, I didn't play that on Xbox. I played on PC. So maybe I can't really count Cyberpunk. But also last year, I also had Wasteland 3, I loved that as well. This year, I haven't had as many big games that I've really loved, but I feel like we're finishing the year strong now. I think if Battlefield patches its crap quick enough, I still can't get into a game. I've tried it during this show, Rand. I've been trying non-stop to get into a Battlefield game. I've uninstalled the game. I've cleared the cache of the Xbox. I've reinstalled the game. I've deleted my save files. I've tried everything to get back into Battlefield 2042, and I just keep getting this unable to load persistence data, game return to the menu bug. So like there is something very wrong with Battlefield right now, and a lot of people are being hit with this issue. But I feel like Battlefield could end up being like one of my favorite games of the year because of that. Because it is awesome, man. I really like it. But also Halo. I did not expect to be so drawn in by the Halo's tech test at all. I really didn't. I was like, man, this plays really good. It feels like the gunplay feels really, really nice. Everything feels super polished. Like it's got weight, but it's not sluggish. Man, it's just hard to put into words how the nuance in describing very delicately how great Halo bloody well feels. It just feels absolutely incredible. So I don't know. I would like to say I'm still sort of I still want those hashtag just one kind of games. I'm really hoping that Hellblade is that game that really sucks me in, really blows my mind, makes me think, makes me feel like connected to. And I don't just want to I want games where I'm not just having fun. I want games that really sort of suck me in and create those kind of amazing memories. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And as I get older, Rand, I worry. Rand. I keep thinking, damn, is it because I'm getting old now and I'm jaded? Are games actually still pretty good? Am I just like jaded now and I just can't feel it like I used to be able to feel? I think I have those thoughts, man. You know, Cyberpunk was pretty damn close being one of those games that sort of blew me away. But like, I'm talking about things like playing Metal Gear Solid 1 for the first time, you know, or playing Silent Hill 2 for the first time. Those kind of experiences, you know? And I just wonder, am I just not capable of having those kind of experiences anymore? Or is it because they were like new and they were doing things for the first time? I don't know. But I do want to see games on that kind of level come out of Microsoft. I do want to see, you know, Hellblade deliver big. I do want to see, I don't know, other sort of games like that from Microsoft. And I'm hoping that's what we will see. I don't want to, I know there's going to be a load of service games. And I've actually seen people saying there's too many RPGs now, like recently, which is hilarious. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
So, Jez, we got the poll up. We have 260 people who have voted so far, and I don't know if you've seen the poll, but where do you think most people would fall in? A, B, C, or D? If you had to guess.
A or B, maybe. Definitely not C or D. I don't know. Maybe A. I gave it an A, personally.
Right. I said I gave it a B+. So right now, with 276 votes, we have 42% with an A, 48% with a B, 8% C, and a 2% for a D. So I'll let this keep on going, but yeah. So seems like most people, at least listening to this show, I know we had like, I think over 1,400 people watching live, and if you're watching it, thank you so much. Make sure you hit the like button. And it does seem like most people are happy with the year. But yeah. Supernova says, are there problems between Jeremy Soule and Bethesda, and is Jeremy going to compose Elder Scrolls 6? Jazz, do you know anything about this?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Are there problems between Jeremy Soule and Bethesda, and is Jeremy going to compose the Elder Scrolls 6?
I don't know who that is.
Neither do I.
Composer?
I would imagine he's the composer, but yeah.
Composer of Skyrim. Wasn't it? Jeremy Soule. Oh, okay. So this is a recent story. Actually no, it's not a recent story. It's from 2016. Skyrim. This is a 2016 article. Skyrim composer warns fans to be wary of new concert. Jeremy Soule, who composed Skyrim's soundtrack, spoken out, and he's not a fan of Bethesda doing a concert. And he said, "Concert? What concert?" He said in the post on his Facebook page. "Anyone that knows me knows I care passionately about the integrity of my music. Skyrim took years for me to compose. Today I'm seeing reports of a concert of Skyrim, and that's the first time I've heard of it. The concert has nothing to do with me. They're not using my original scores. They would have had to transcribe whatever notation they are performing by ear from the recordings. That is a flawed process, as transcriptions are always fraught with errors." That is interesting. Has he worked with them since? I don't know. I know that Bethesda does a lot of work with... I can't remember his name now, but he composed... He composed the Fallout 4 theme and a bunch of stuff for Fallout 4. Maybe he did the whole soundtrack, I don't know. But Bethesda's been working with him a lot recently. But this isn't the first time that I've heard Bethesda's pissed off musicians, because very famously, they fell out with Mick Gordon, who did the Doom soundtrack. And now we don't have Mick Gordon on Doom anymore, which really sucks, because Mick Gordon is absolutely incredible. And for me, I think Doom 2016 is probably the best video game soundtrack of all time. So it kind of sucks. But Zach M says Jeremy Soule is a very problematic person, and Pullo83 says Inon Zur does the music for Fallout 4. Yeah, I couldn't remember his name exactly. I have no idea who Jeremy Soule is. Calorie says they just had that concert yesterday. But it does sound like there's some kind of issue between Jeremy Soule and Bethesda. So, but I'm sure there's going to be some like, they'll get a good musician. Like they can afford it, right? They can afford it. It is funny. Like there's a lot of drama with musicians in the gaming industry.
It definitely seems like there is, isn't there?
Did you see what's his name? The guy who did Halo back in the day.
Marty O'Donnell.
Marty O'Donnell. Did you see like all the drama Marty O'Donnell went through with Bungie over the Destiny soundtrack? That is wild. And like a judge forced him to tweet out like an apology or something. That is wild stuff.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Dio Game wants to know if you know the camera perspective of Pentiment, Jez.
I don't. I'm gonna guess that it's gonna be 2D top down, maybe like isometric. It's probably gonna be using the Pillars of Eternity engine, if I had to guess, but it might not be. It might be something completely different. But it's Josh Sawyer, so like you can sort of, like Jeff Grubb himself said, you can sort of get an idea about what kind of game it's going to be from Josh Sawyer, and he did Pillars of Eternity, which was sort of isometric, and the game is going to be like fully dialogue based, and you know the Pillars of Eternity engine has been used for like quite a lot of games like that, like In Exile, funnily enough, did a game I believe on the Pillars engine called what was it called now? Torment. Tides of Numenera. Torment Tides of Numenera was also on the Pillars engine. And they also built Tyranny on the Pillars engine. They did Pillars 1 and 2 on that engine. So I wouldn't be shocked if they were also doing Pentiment on that engine as well. But I don't know yet.
Yeah. Okay, well, I thought you were going to say something. But Christian says, Rand, your content helps me through the BS I'm going through. Thank you. Man, your comment, like, I'm happy that, you know, what, Jez, what?
Sorry, I just to round off the last discussion, Kamona Tong on Discord just told me that Inon Zur is already confirmed as the composer for the Elder Scrolls 6. Okay. And Inon Zur also did the soundtrack for the Elder Scrolls Blades. So there you go. It's Inon Zur, and he's a great composer, so...
Yeah, but reading Christian's message here in the Super Chat, he says our content helps him get through the bullshit he's going through, and he thanks us, which, hey man, like, I've been there, we've all gone through BS, you know, sometimes I've latched onto books or other things. If I can be that for you, or this podcast could be there for you, you know, the 3 hours or so that we give every week, then, you know, that's amazing. So, that's actually really humbling as well, that people look to us to help get them through tough times. Wouldn't you say, Jez?
Yeah, man. Like, seriously, just if you're suffering or anything, and if just talking about it, or if I can do anything to help, just drop me a DM, man.
Mm-hmm.
Drop me a DM.
Yeah, drop me a DM too. I usually check my DMs like every other day. Go through my message requests and stuff. So I usually try, and Xbox as well. Like I try to get back to everybody that messages me. So Face, he says PS5 and Series X had a good first year, but I got to bring up some Xbox fans thought and implied that the Series X was going to curb stomp the PS5 in terms of power. That hasn't been the case. Only difference is 10% higher res. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. There definitely were Xbox fans that thought, Series X were going to there be a significant difference in versions of games, and that hasn't really been the case this year. I mean, who knows what year 3 or year 4 will bring, but for year 1, yeah, not really that much of a difference.
Okay, I've got to unconfirm doing the soundtrack.
Unconfirm and unsub. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Tong says, not confirmed, lol. It's unofficially rumored, basically, But it's basically a foregone conclusion. There's LinkedIn implications, but it's not officially confirmed. But you can assume that it is him. And today I learned he also did the soundtrack for Dragon Age Origins, thanks to everyone's idol Goro. I did not know that. Man, what a great composer he is. So, and I still can't get into Battlefield, you know.
Jeez, still?
It's broken, man. My profile is broken. Actually, someone in chat, and shout out to them who said that. Someone said turning off crossplay can make it work. So let's go and try that right now. Continue. Right, we're trying to do a podcast. I'm just here trying to play shooters. This is the only time I get to game, man. The only time. It's, you know, leave me alone. But yeah, what's our next topic, Rand?
It's weird. I just saw a tweet from Halo Infinite News with the picture saying, breaking, Halo Infinite's free-to-play multiplayer release on November 15th. And it's a picture. It's a picture of what I assume is the dashboard that says Halo Infinite, play trailer, Game Pass, coming November 15th to Xbox Game Pass.
Oh my God.
I'll send you in the DMs. I don't know if this is real or not. Here, I'll send you the tweet. You can take a look at it.
That is wild, man. Why can't Microsoft keep a secret anymore?
So, I don't know. You can take a look at it, see if it's real, but... Mariana Pampa says, with the lack of physical collector's edition for Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite, do you guys see Xbox stop selling collector's editions? Have a great weekend, gents. Well, I mean, there was the Ultimate Edition for Forza. Well, yeah, but that's not really a collector's edition. Personally, I think Xbox is moving further and further away from physical releases. Wouldn't you say, Jez?
Yeah, I think, like, since they've opened the Xbox Gear Store, I think they're gonna start doing just more random merchandise because, like, everyone always said to them, like, you should make a merchandise store and stuff, and they started doing it recently, and they've started, like, you know, there's tons of clothes on the Xbox merchandise shop. I actually bought an Out Worlds t-shirt which never showed up. I bought it months ago, and it just disappeared into the ether. But I suppose it's better if you actually live in America. But I think Microsoft is going to do more merchandise. There is a ton of Halo merchandise. There's like a Needler going out there. There's like a Mega Block stuff just got announced. There's a ton of merchandise. So kind of like, yeah, collector's editions are cool, but I think Microsoft have been burnt very hard with collector's editions. Do you remember the huge collector's edition they did for Recall? And then, like, that was like $100, huge statue and stuff, and then they dropped it. And so maybe they're just sort of nervous about doing them now, because, like, if you buy a shitload and then there's no stock.
I mean, I could still see Bethesda doing them, because I think for the most part Bethesda's still going to be run independently of Xbox. Like, obviously, like, they report to Phil, but I would imagine if, like, Bethesda still wants to do collector's editions, they can. But it definitely seems like Xbox Game Studios is... Maybe it just comes down to individual preferences for their games. Maybe Halo didn't want... 343 didn't want to do it, or Forza didn't, or something. I don't know. But it definitely does seem like collector's editions aren't really a thing for them anymore, so...
Yeah. Oh, dude.
What?
I fixed Battlefield.
Oh, did you? By turning off crossplay?
Yeah. So if that isn't proof that crossplay sucks, I don't know what is. Whoever said that in chat, thank you. But yeah, that fixed it. If you disable crossplay, you can play Battlefield. And now I'm playing with glorious console players, and there's not a single line of dialogue in sight. Wonderful. But yeah, there you go. Problems with crossplay breaking Battlefield.
Solved. Stodgy Caesar says, am I too critical for rating year one a 7 out of 10? It feels like Xbox still doesn't hit full stride with hardware or software. Also, first party absent until E3. Hey, man, your rating's your rating. It's your opinion, bro. I mean, I'm not going to say you're too critical, because what I say I'd give Xbox for the first 6 months of the year for their studios, like a D. So if you feel it's a 7 out of 10, then who am I to tell you you're wrong, you know?
Yeah. The launch day especially was really disappointing. I mean, it was awesome to get the console like 2 months early, that I've never had a review lead time that was like 6 weeks or whatever. That was just crazy. No company's ever done that for us, whether it's a game or a piece of hardware or whatever. That was like really cool. But there was nothing to play. There was literally nothing to play. There was nothing with ray tracing really to test. There were very little games with the features that Microsoft had promised, like quick resume and stuff like that. A lot of the games that you could play were just backwards compatible, and Watch Dogs Legion didn't have ray tracing implemented. So it did feel a bit like it was coming in hot at the start of the gen. And then like we had like a bit of a game drought at the beginning. But we were also right slap bang in the middle of a pandemic. So I also I give them some kind of leeway for that reason. I'm also giving Battlefield a bit of leeway for that reason. Like, whether is that fair or not? I don't know. Is it fair? I don't know. But I'm still giving devs leeway for COVID, because if your entire company's culture was revolved around being in the office, and your entire company's toolkit and the tools that you use to make games, if they were all based on a closed network technology, pivoting to working remotely for game dev overnight, that ain't easy. Like, anyone who's ever worked in IT procurement or anything like that, it can be a nightmare. And then if you factor in the extra demand there was for remote services, and that's like an extra dimension of nightmares. It's like layers of nightmares in a layered nightmare cake. So it was like the worst possible way to develop a game this past year. So I do sort of feel for the devs, and I do appreciate that they were able to get these games out in any sort of state. I don't give Call of Duty a pass, though, because Call of Duty sucked for years at this point. But I'm going to give Battlefield a pass, though. And I'm also going to give like Year One a little bit of a pass for that reason, too. If you factor all that stuff in, it's pretty magical we've had anything, really. Because everything's really like still really disrupted from COVID and the chip shortage and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, Leonardo Vega says, "Hey, did you guys congratulate Daniel Rubino on being in Forza Horizon 5?"
I love this story so much. I mean, like, for those who don't know, Daniel Rubino is my boss. He I don't think he created Windows Central. Or maybe he did. I don't know, actually. But Windows Central is an old website. Like, it used to be called WM Experts, it used to be called back in the day. And then it sort of got bought out by a company and rebranded to Windows Phone Central. For those OG people who remember when we were called Windows Phone Central. And now we are called Windows Central. And Daniel Rubino is my boss. And apparently, people think one of the characters in Forza looks a lot like Daniel Rubino. I have to say, I kind of see the likeness, man. That's really quite funny. But would you like to be in a game, Rand? Do you remember when was it Doc Cupcake? He was in Crackdown 3.
Oh,
remember him?
Who?
Xbox community guy. Oh man, I don't know. Like, every now and then, there's like community people that end up in a game, like Laser Scanned. I think one of the Xbox presenters was also in Crackdown.
Oh yeah, Ricari. Yeah.
Ricari, yeah. Which franchise would you want to be in, Rand? If Microsoft sent you a DM and said you can be a character, you can be a DLC in one of our games, you'd be in Halo. You'd be like a Spartan.
I want to be a Marine. UNSC Marine or ODST. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
What about
maybe a thug in Batman, so Batman can kick the shit out of me.
No. What about a grunt?
Sure, why not? I'll be a grunt. Yeah,
a grunt.
100%. So I ended the poll, Jazz, at 611 votes. A got 44%, B got 44%, a C for 8%, and D was 1%. So 88% of people thought it was an A or a B. So it was pretty split there. So yeah. You know what? I think this would be a good time to end the show. But as we always do, if you guys have some questions you want us to answer, make sure you throw them in chat. We appreciate everybody being here. We had a lot of people, and it's awesome to see people loving the show. And if you were liking it, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for all the support, super chats, memberships, just being here, lurking or chatting. Me and Jez just really appreciate everybody who tunes in every single week. Or if you're listening to this later via one of the podcast apps like iTunes or Google Play or wherever we're all at, Spotify. Thank you guys so much for being part of, me and Jez and the show we do weekly. It's honestly humbling that so many people listen to what me and Jez have to say about stuff when nobody should listen to us at all. Yeah. Supernova says hashtag vote for Jez 2024. Yes, Jez, you got my vote.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Jez, man. You were like, we can't do 3-hour show, but here we are, almost doing a 3-hour show again.
Yep.
It never ends.
Powered through. I had flu shot. I don't know what you call it. The flu shot, basically, the other day, and it's sort of earlier. I felt kind of, I don't know, feverish, but I feel all right now. So, yeah, maybe all the stress of trying to make Battlefield work woke me up a bit. But yeah, been a great show, man.
Yeah. That's all wants to know if we're gonna review the Gucci Xbox. Oh yeah, I did see that $10,000 Gucci thing. Yeah,
Gucci Xbox. I got a friend who's really into Gucci, so maybe she'll be totally down for that.
Yeah, that's not something for me. Wouldn't that be awesome if like that showed up one day like Xbox Rand, we want to Gucci 10,000? I'd be like, yeah, you mind if I sell this?
Mind if I sell this?
Ernie says, OG Xbox leak, any more speculation? Presumably about back and pat games. I think there'll be back and pat announcements at Monday's show. I think,
you kind of get that impression from some of the store listings.
Yeah, 100%. Alvin says Paul Tassi is rebutting the Halo Infinite news info. I did see that it most likely is just a picture that's been photoshopped or was a picture.
They were talking about the picture.
Yeah, that's what I sent you, right?
Yeah, they basically what happened was it's a screenshot of the website and they just used inspect element, change the text.
There you
go.
So
it wasn't even Photoshop. It's even more simple than that. Yeah.
Lydia says, do you think Sony and Nintendo will send congratulations to Xbox for the 20th anniversary? Yeah, I think they might. Nintendo will. But... Yeah, I'm sure their tweet will be like, congrats on 20 years or whatever. Isildur's Bane wants to know, Rand Jez, do you think it would be a better idea for Xbox to release the Halo campaign instead of the multiplayer? This way they don't step on anyone's toes and Halo might possibly be in for the game of the year. No, I think the reason you could see multiplayer launch early is because it's free to play and it's digital, right? You don't need a physical disc for that because like retailers would be upset if they basically, surprise launched the campaign while they were still waiting on physical discs. So that's how nothing in the campaign is, would come out because retailers would have to have the game. Right?
Yeah.
You would see pictures of it at GameStop waiting. Amazon would have to update everybody's orders to November 15th. But Xbox can put out the multiplayer because I don't think the multiplayer is a part of that package of the disc.
Yeah.
It's just a free-to-play thing. So, I mean, that's how they would get around it if it is indeed true, which we'll find out Monday. So we don't got long to wait.
Yeah.
For Nate the Hate's sake, I hope it's true for him because if he's wrong on this, he put himself out there and he's wrong on this, he'll never live it down. Never live it down.
That is like one of the things I would never want to get wrong. So
I know,
that's why I'm putting stock in the rumor because that is one thing like I would need some serious confirmation to say that stuff. So, and I definitely do not have that right now because, as we all know, we can't trust Rand. You never know. Never know if Rand's leaking something or just teasing it.
That's true.
What is he like? What is he like? That's
Saji Caesar says. Also, I told you you'd like the Eliminator. You did, and you're right. It's a lot of fun. Leonardo says, do you guys think Starfield might be rated teen? I feel like every RPG is rated mature. I feel like Sony does a better job of mixing ET and M-rated games.
I hope not.
Yeah.
God damn, I hope not. Like, I mean, I kind of get it if you don't like violent 18-rated games. And to be fair, they do have Fallout, and games rarely get more violent and twisted than Fallout. Some of the quests in Fallout are really messed up, like especially Fallout 3, like cannibalism quests and like dealing with all kinds of really disturbing stuff sometimes. But could Bethesda have like a teen rated RPG for the sake of diversity? I think that'd be kind of cool actually. But at the same time, I think Fable's going to be that. I think Fable will probably hit a teen rating. And also you've got Halo, which is a teen rating, which is also one of the reasons why I have never really got into it. Because I've always just seen it as sort of not dark enough, because I'm, kind of emo. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think that'd be interesting to see how they do a teen rated game. But I also don't know if Bethesda has it in them to do a teen rating game. It just doesn't seem like it's in their DNA, but they're going to make the game that they want to make at the end of the day.
Yeah. Elena wants to know when are your topless calendars due?
Topless calendar?
Yeah.
Damn. Well, I don't know. I probably need a lot more weight loss before I do something like that. But I don't know. Maybe I'll do one. Maybe I will do one. Do like if me, Rand, and Colt and Miles make a band, we could do like an Xbox band and then an Xbox band topless calendar.
Yeah. Fatty says Forspoken is listed on the Microsoft Store for PC. Any info on this? I did see that. Forspoken, which is a PlayStation console exclusive for 2 years, is on, I think, Steam. It's on Epic, and it's also up on the Microsoft Store with Xbox achievements, Jez. I don't know if you saw this.
Is Forspoken...
It's the Square Enix new IP game. Yeah.
Thing?
It's a Final it's not Final Fantasy, but it's their new IP. Coming out.
If it's on the Microsoft Store, that's not an accident. Like you can't fake that.
No. Nobody's saying it's an accident. If it's there, it's coming.
Well, yeah,
it's coming. But the thing is, it also has Xbox achievements. So
that could imply Game Pass then.
Would that be interesting? Wouldn't it?
Forspoken launch into PC Game Pass
day one.
That'd be really interesting.
But like it basically Sony's like, we don't care, we want this game, and it just can't be on Xbox. Okay, well whatever. Yeah. Gaming Forte wants to know what was your most memorable or hardest achievement you ever completed. Jez, memorable or hardest?
Memorable or hardest achievement? Dude, honestly, I don't achievement hunt, so it's not a good question for me. I sort of like, it is sort of interesting though when I think I've mentioned this before, like completing the Evil Within 1 on normal, like pretty recently too, like maybe a couple of years ago, several years after it came out. I was surprised to see that was a rare achievement with only 2% of players having completed it on normal. So maybe that's technically the hardest achievement I've done. Completing the Evil Within on normal difficulty. What about you, Rand? Is it going to be Barbie Horse Adventures 5?
Yeah. No, I would say I still remember Dead Space is too hard to the core achievement, where you had to beat the game with only 4 saves. Or 3 saves. Yeah, 3 saves. I still remember how nerve-wracking that was to go through certain parts of the game not being able to save. And you had to like plan out like, okay, I'll make my save here, I'll make my save here, and make my save here. And like how, when you were out of like, you still maybe had like 2 hours left to play or 3 hours left to play because you used your last save, and how, you get low on health and you're just like, freaking out because if you get hit one more time, you got to replay the last 3 hours. Like I still remember that, how much fun it was. So I would probably say hard to the core. for that one.
Cool.
Calorix wants to know, Jez, any thoughts on the Sumo Digital sale being investigated by the U.S. government? People saying the U.S. government would be more aggressive against Chinese companies.
That is quite interesting, actually, isn't it? Sumo Digital sale to China. I think like there is a concern in the U.S. military community that China's like trying to control the cultural output of the West by buying up Western entertainment companies. Now, that could be totally conspiracy theory. That could be like overly paranoid. I don't know, but those are the times we live in, right? It is funny. Like, I watched a movie recently. I can't remember. Oh yeah, Independence Day 2, whatever it's called. Did you watch Independence Day 2?
No, I am not watching Independence Day 2.
I was really intrigued about Independence Day 2 because it was like produced by Tencent Movies or whatever. And there was a lot of Chinese flags in that movie. And, I don't have anything against China or anything as a country, but, not to get too political, the government is a bit dodgy. And it did come across as quite propaganda-y, to put it bluntly. It felt kind of forced. There was a whole subplot about China and America loving each other and working together, and it was kind of a nice message. And maybe that's what they want. Maybe they've got to me. Oh no! But like it was quite a nice message in the end. It was like China and America work together to like build some kind of space station on the moon. Like I'm not going to spoil the movie, not that it's very deep anyway. But it just struck me as kind of like odd, It's like I would not expect. It just felt forced, So maybe like there is some paranoia. Maybe some like CIA agents watched Independence Day 2 or wherever it was called, and were like, "Oh man, maybe this Tencent company is like actually a propaganda agent for evil communists, and we need to stop them from buying Sumo Digital because Sumo Digital is the greatest arbiter of American culture in the world, Or maybe it's just, maybe there was some dodgy dealings. Maybe there was some bribes being paid. Maybe there is genuinely some illegal activity that's taken place. Because sometimes, like, bribes happen. I mean, deals like this happen as a result of bribes being paid, which is illegal. I can't remember the name of the crime exactly, but I don't know. It's interesting to think about. And obviously when it concerns gaming, it's obviously interesting to me. But do you think... Just on the topic of Sumo Digital, Rand, do you think Microsoft should have bought them? Do you think that's a loss for Microsoft to have missed Sumo Digital?
Not really.
No?
No, not really. I guess I would need to know more about what they've done with Xbox to consider. Like, they did Crackdown 3, but I'm not a fan of Crackdown, so to me it's like they didn't lose much in that, but
Fair.
I don't know what other things they've done, so... Face wants to know, Jez, Rand, what are your thoughts on what's going on with the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition? Basically, I think Rockstar didn't care, and they're just like paid someone to do the least amount of work to put it out because they knew, why bother spending a ton of money on this when everyone's just going to buy it regardless, right? So I just don't think they really cared. I think a lot of people are going to buy it. That's one of the reasons why Rockstar didn't share official gameplay until like the day before release. They knew what they had on their hands, and I don't think they cared.
Yeah. Dan Houser leaving, man. That's all it is. That's why, like, I've got, like, no faith in GTA 6. I think with Dan Houser gone, you lose the artistic integrity. You get corners cut. You get, just, I don't know, a general dip in quality, It's clear that he had a lot of clout there. It almost smacks me as similar to the Konami Kojima situation, but I don't know.
Mother X says, keep up the great work, guys. Todd Howard said Starfield is fully playable from start to finish. Were those 2021 release rumors true at some point? Maybe not. I mean, I know people were telling me that Xbox wanted it out in 2021, and I mean, obviously the game's not coming out for another year after that, so it doesn't look like that was the case. Maybe it's just crossed wires or whatever. But yeah, I'm not surprised it's fully playable. Usually games are fully playable well before a year out. It's just that now it's all about like finishing the game and then polishing it up. So, yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Sean Labrie says the bad boys of Xbox calendar. Leonardo wants to. Leonardo asks, "Hey, should Microsoft acquire Playtonics and fuse them with Rare in order to make a Banjo game?"
Playtonic made Ukulele, right?
Yes. They left. I think they all left Rare, and then they ended up making Ukulele, which is Banjo, and yeah. So,
weren't some people that wasn't particularly well received, was it? If I remember right.
I think the sequel was. I don't think the first game was, or I think the first game was lower rated, but people liked the sequel. So, I mean, somebody's gonna have to do a Banjo at some point, and Rare it seems like they don't want to do it. So maybe it's them. Yeah. Pong Soul says Sumo would have been awesome to make an Xbox kart racer. Yeah, I guess they could have done that. So, you know what? I think that's all the questions I see. So, I think now's the time to end the show for real. 3-hour podcast on a Friday.
Hell yeah.
Everybody enjoyed it. I don't know what I'm doing for Monday. I might stream the event. I might do a video after the event. I'm not sure. The rumors about Halo is exciting. Will we be playing Halo Infinite multiplayer Monday right after that show? How incredible would that be if that was the case? I guess we'll all find out together on Monday. Either people are going to be shocked or people are going to be disappointed. I suppose if people are expecting the multiplayer to be released and then it doesn't release, then oh man, Nate the Hate's going to get a lot of hate. You better just leave social media if that's the case. So yeah, we appreciate you guys being here. Love each and every one of you.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for the support. And if you are buying something for your family and friends for the holidays and it's a Manscaped product, use the code XB2. You get 20% off.
Buying Manscaped for your family.
Yeah, why not? You get it for your dad or your brother, like your brother-in-law, If your sister's complaining about your brother, your brother's hairy balls, Xbox 2, hook them up, 20% off.
Oh man, this podcast is from Sweet Home Alabama all of a sudden.
Yeah, I know, right?
They also have cologne. They don't just sell ball trimmers; they sell all kinds of cool stuff. But yeah, XB2, Manscaped, make it jump.
Anyways, guys, we will be back hopefully on Friday. Probably an hour later than normal, most likely, because you have a doctor's appointment, right? So
there's a good chance I'll get back in time.
Yeah.
So we won't say it's an hour later just yet, but there's a small chance we might be an hour later than usual next week, but it's a small chance.
Yeah. So look for the show next week, and enjoy your weekend and keep it gaming, guys.